No see
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Now this one says, hey, come on, everybody raise it up, come on. Hey, say that one more time, say
Minutes past 6. This one is a very, very encouraging song. Surely there is an end, and the Lord will make sure you are vindicated at the end. Believe it, sing it, trust in the Lord. I just know at the end I will win. It's called Bongo Praise. Citi Breakfast with the Bethel Revival Choir. That's the word for the morning. You can only open your eyes. You can only look beyond what you see. The Savior's arms are out and up to save you. For those in trouble, for those in pain, for those in fear, for those in uncertainty. It's a powerful song. And I came to announce to you that if you can trust Him, if you can believe in what He says, if you refuse to give up, you can put your confidence in the Lord. Business sense is simple this morning. It doesn't matter what happens to you. What matters most is how you respond. So it's not about the actions of people. It's not about your ability. It's about your attitude. It's not what happens around you that's important. It's what happens in you that matters. I choose to believe. I choose to have faith. I choose to see the bottle half full, not half empty. I choose to have a positive attitude. I choose to be a giver. I choose to be a liver. I will not allow the circumstance around me to determine what happens within me. These are great words to start your morning. We call it business sense. It's really life sense. Brought to you by ADB. Get in touch. 059-3848-98. That's 059-3844-898. Let's give you a new loan to help you finish in style. It's called a special personal top-up loan to reduce your interest rate, extend your repayment period, and help you maintain your existing monthly amount. ADB, truly agric and more.
Same great bang. Because the greatest things are born from the smallest of thoughts.
Just as your seeds in rich soil grow to become trees that bear fruits, the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, helps you sow, invest, nurture, and grow your personal and business plans by serving you with years of banking ingenuity and experience in agribusiness, corporate and commercial banking, consumer finance, e-banking, and many more through our network branches across the country. Whatever the culture, whatever the dream, we grow with you. Call us today on 0302-210-210 or visit www.agricbank.com. ADB, truly agric and more.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is Citi 97.3.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
All right, so let's go straight into the newspapers. It's brought to you by Total. At Total Energies, we continuously innovate. We've redesigned our lubricant bottle into a modern and premium pack. It's user-friendly to make it easier to carry and pour. A redesigned cap to avoid leaks and splashes, and the new label inspired by a QR code and displays product marketing and technical information. It's the same superior quality oil in a modern and premium bottle. We say good morning to Richard Sky and to Nathan Kwao. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning.
I like Thursdays because it's the day before Friday.
I know, right?
That's the whole story. Thursday is the day before Friday.
Yeah.
The week begins to relax. So yeah, so much to talk about this morning. I hope you're ready for the day.
Yes, hopefully we are.
You're sure? All right, let's start with the graphics.
The Daily Graphic says this morning, danger looms at Pantang Hospital. Hundreds of squatters occupy perilous structures. And Bernard, the photographs on the front page this morning, really looking terrible, Charlie. People living in these things, it's a bad story, man. And then also we are told that There's something here about buy a copy of your daily graphic
That
tomorrow.
shock you, eh?
As we profile Lada Deko Tokun
They
constituency.
tricked you. That's the headline. Buy a
Gold,
copy.
yes, Ale, gold for oil policy, $4.8 billion to be saved yearly, according to Dr. Baumia, whose photograph is on the front page. Also part of $259 million KGTR market gutted by fire. How is
Every
this?
week, some fire somewhere. Oh, Lord. Charlie.
The Ghanaian Times says WASI registration malpractices. WAEC bars 5 SHSs for charging unapproved fees. Ghana requires $30 billion to develop nationwide railway network. That's according to the GRDA CEO. Engineering works on expansion of Wager water treatment plant complete. And Education Minister has no power to close down schools. That's according to NAT. Plus, ANAS's 25 million cedi defamation suit against Ken Japan dismissed.
Let me take you to the Anchor newspaper. The big story says 75,000 Ghana cedi Hajj fare inflated, according to a former ambassador who is making that allegation. Also, Asawase NDC in turmoil again, as Mugabe MP sues executives for 10 million Ghana cedis. Of course, they're referring to the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, whose photograph is here on the front page. Charlie, Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire hold talks over pollution of water bodies by Galamsey and fire guts $259 million KGTR market.
The Chronicle says Mohammed's AG rejects Akufo-Addo's award. Okay, and there's a picture of Mrs. Marietta Brapiapong, former AG, on the front page of the Chronicle. But other people went to receive the awards, and the Chronicle says Accra Commando, KO, and others rewarded for fighting COVID-19. New KGTR market on fire. And I'll win Ghana off IMF. That's according to Dr. Owusu Efreya Koto. And Hebrews 13:17 is the scripture for the morning. I'm sure, Bernard, do you know what's there?
I don't know.
Keep confidence in your leaders and submit to their
You are
authority.
so enamored by these scriptures in the morning.
But you need it.
I know.
Yes, for
Yeah,
spiritual.
but they are
you
using
know.
it for other things.
I know.
Which is I'm not interested in.
No, but I'm just reading.
Scripture should not be used to do
For
diabolical politics. So
diabolical.
I'm not interested.
Anyway, yes.
Okay, let me take you to the Daybreak newspaper. Gold for oil. Government targets 100% import, according to Dr. Baumia, the Vice President. Also, Apanyo marking suggests reduction in the number of MPs. Also, MPA touts downstream success story. And Ghana link trains stakeholders on econs.
Okay.
And the New Crusading Guide says, Anas, Tiger Eye resolute in corruption fight. Holds injustice, bans judgment exposed. Baumia extols Bost as a shining example of effectively run state enterprise. Commissions $32 million office complex. Dome Kitasi Road project in limbo
Oh.
as workers fight over unpaid salaries.
Hey.
Right. Zongo Youth petition GBA to suspend Baba Jamal. And Energy Minister pitches strongly for Ghana in Barcelona.
Let me take you to the Business Finder. Support vegetable producers is the lead story. Ghanaian exporters are appealing to government in that respect. Also, bridge the development gap, according to the U.S. envoy in Accra. And we've ensured stability across a downstream sector. Mustafa Hamid claiming.
Let me go online and start with citynewsroom.com, and the lead story there is the full judgment in the Anas versus Kennedy, a Japan defamation case. That's the lead story. Defense and Interior Committee to visit Ashaman today over military raid. Also, we're yet to finalize consultation on new road tolls, Finance Ministry says. And then dismissal of defamation case against a Japan, a travesty of justice according to Anas. And then government has paid outstanding coupons to individual bondholders. So I'm sure those who've been complaining will be shouting, yay. Again, City Business News leads with that. And also says inflation drops marginally, 52.8%. So this is the third straight inflation measure in the 50s. So it's dropped marginally, but it's still very, very high. The Baumia says gold for oil policy to further reduce fuel prices in the coming days. We'll see how that plays out. And he also says it will save Ghana $4.8 billion annually. Hey, we have to interrogate that thing. My Joy Online is leading with KGTR Market on fire. Lady tumbles from top floor of KGTR Market in a bit to escape fire. Now, some of the scenes we saw yesterday, very, very troubling indeed. spend some time talking about this as well. And then we're moving on to other stories. Fuel prices to fall between 3 and 10% this March. This from 16th March. And then lawyer Fuchikata explains why he rejected the national award. You join that to the Marietta story on the eat loss issue. This story is heartbreaking. Doctors in Wild West use phone touch to perform surgeries 2 years after theater lamps broke down. Charlie. And the road minister is calling for bipartisan probe into Akufo-Addo's claim of building the most roads in the Fourth Republic. So, Sky, you and your parliamentary friends, you can form a bipartisan committee to investigate who built more roads. Now, football, City Sports, don't use chant failure to justify local players' no-show in Black Stars. Olympics coach is not happy. Yeah, and Chris Hilton is a unifier, according to Didi Dramani. Globally, Russian casualties mount in Bakhmut, but tactics evolve. And then US threatens TikTok ban if it is not sold, according to a report. And then, Charlie, with all the issues, world's first octopus farm plans alarm scientists.
Octopus plant.
Charlie, they are doing octopus farm.
Farming the octopus
farm.
Yes, a plan to build the world's first octopus farm has raised deep concerns among scientists about the welfare of the famously intelligent creatures.
The welfare.
The world's first octopus farm.
No,
He
they
said
are
the
talking about the
scientists
welfare of the octopus.
Yes.
Concerned about the
As against the welfare of hungry children in Africa.
Okay.
When they advance in science, they think about things. You know, there are people who have not eaten today. We think about them. Let's talk about octopus.
You mean Abusra? They are talking about the
In fact, the farm is in Spain's Canary Islands, and it will raise about 1 million octopuses annually for food.
Okay.
And then the scientists say they don't like that because it's cruel.
Okay.
Now we are raising octopus to eat.
But I think they're trying to solve hunger problems.
No, the people say the thing is cruel.
Charlie.
They say they have never been intensively farmed, and some scientists call the proposed icy water slaughtering method cruel.
Wow. Maybe scientists would have to explain that position too.
Let's leave the
But
octopus.
let's talk about.
I think now when you come to back to the village, you have to have a fried octopus stand.
Yeah.
Charlie, please, if you do octopus for back to the village, I'll visit your stand.
But you have to produce a certificate showing that it was not cruelly slaughtered.
All animals in this video were not
So what can we even eat now? When you eat cat, they say, we eat octopus, we now fish. Charlie, eat animal rice. Now we should just eat grass. Charlie, no, we have to file a petition at the UN because the thing they are doing is not fair. Anything we my people want to do, they say they won't agree. We need cat at the back to the village. We need at daddy. We need cat meat. Sure. This is my culture. Me, I eat it. It's my culture. Shall we start with it?
Bernard, the story about gold for oil. The vice president is making audacious challenge.
4 billion?
4.8 billion to be
telling
saved yearly, according to the vice president. Chris Nunu reporting, page 16 of the Daily Graphic says the country will save about 4.8 billion US dollars in foreign exchange every year as one of the benefits from the gold for oil policy. The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has said. Now, he said the most important aspect of the policy was not just the reduction in fuel prices, but the savings the Bank of Ghana would make in foreign exchange as a result of the lower demand. Now, Dr. Bawumia, who was speaking at the inauguration of a new office building for the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited in Accra yesterday, said the savings were huge and that the goal was to move the importation of oil under the policy from between 50 and 60% to 100% this year.
Two quick stories on oil. Fuel prices to fall between 3% and 10% from March. And this morning, there are new fuel prices. Gulf sent some new prices today. They've reduced their fuel price. So the story is that fuel prices are expected to fall between 3 and 10% at the pumps beginning today, March 16. According to the IES, this follows a decline in the activities of price indicators in the last 2 weeks. The price of all three key petroleum products, petrol, diesel, and liquefied petroleum gas, are expected to fall. Now, Dr. Bawumia is also saying that he expects the further reductions in fuel prices because of oil for gold. Okay. The minorities, John Jinapo is disputing this, and he says that it's not the reason why the prices are falling. We can deal with that later. Second big story, Anas.
Yes, that's on
Kennedy Japan.
page 3 of the Ghanaian Times. Story written by Cliff Ekufu says the 25 million CD defamation suit filed by investigative journalist Anas Aremiyawa Anas against MP for Asin Central Kennedy Ohene Japan was yesterday dismissed by the High Court Accra. Is that not what it should be? The High Court Accra, General Jurisdiction 11. Justice Eric Ban, a Court of Appeal judge sitting with additional responsibility as a High Court judge, held that Anas, the plaintiff, failed to prove that Mr. Ejepong, who's the defendant, defamed him through the broadcasting of the documentary Who Watches the Watchman. In 2018, the plaintiff filed a suit in court alleging that he had been defamed by the MP and asked the court to award aggravated damages of 25 million cedis as compensation to him. So that's the lowdown.
The
but of
full
course,
judgment is online. Anas himself has reacted to this on citynewsroom.com. He describes the judgment as a travesty of justice. And in fact, in the weekend, is it Crusading Guide? I think
the new Crusading
Guide, they
on
also have
pages
a response there.
3 and 10, they say Anas Tiger Eye resolute in corruption fight, holds injustice, bans judgment exposed. So they are
So
also
Anas has
reacting.
described it as travesty of justice, the dismissal of this defamation case against Kennedy Japan, the MP for Asin Central in Central Region. Anas further said the ruling is inimical to the administration of justice and fairness. He had brought a 25 million cedi suit against the vociferous legislator in 2018, but the court in his ruling on Wednesday said the suit lacked merit. We'll deal with some of the aspects of the ruling and its implications later on during the show.
Okay, Bernard, let's stay with the courts because there's a story here about Asawase in the Ashanti region. And the Anchor newspaper basically saying that the unending confusion in the opposition National Democratic Congress, Asawase constituency in the Ashanti region has been reviewed or renewed, actually, with a new twist. Now, this follows a decision by the Member of Parliament for the area, the Honorable Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka, to drag some of his executives to the High Court for defamation. In all, 11 branch executives of the party have been slapped with lawsuit for allegedly publishing and circulating comments said to be libelous against the removed minority chief
Now,
whip.
KJTR Market is in the news for the wrong reasons.
Yes, page 2 of the Chronicle has that story. And the story says the KJTR Market in Kumasi, which was flooded after rain a few weeks ago, yesterday was gutted by fire. The inferno gutted parts of the facility. Traders affected by the incident were seen wailing as they tried to salvage as many of their wares as possible. It is yet unclear what triggered the outbreak. Some of the victims who collapsed due to the smoke were carried to health facilities.
It was very
nearby.
serious. Now, we have been told that the market will be closed down this morning and reopened later in the day to enable relevant authorities to inspect the facility for further following what has been described as one of the most serious fires it's seen in a while. The Ghana Fire Service has begun an investigation into the fire as well. According to eyewitnesses, the fire started on the first floor in a section where the combustible materials were sold. An interview with City News, Ashanti Regional Fire Commander AFCO Henry Giwa advised traders and members of the public to be cautious when dealing with combustibles. Averagely, we have counted about 33 shops that have been affected. Investigations are underway. It started right after we arrived. So when we are done, we'll let the public know, just as we have been educating every now and again. So this is the information from that. We'll go back there later this morning as well.
Okay, but let me take you back to the Daily Graphic page, the front page of the newspaper. There's a story that disturbing structures published here. And McLean Kofi, reporting from Pantang, says that about 1,000 squatters occupying uncompleted, dilapidated buildings at the Pantang Hospital in Accra risk their lives living in those structures which have been declared unsafe for occupancy. Constructed in the 1960s, Bernard. The 27 structures made up of 7 three-story apartments for senior staff, 9 bungalows for doctors, and 11 separate medical wards were declared unsafe after a structural integrity survey commissioned by the Ministry of Health in July 2021. Now, the structures were originally envisaged for expansion of the hospital, but that did not materialize. Rather, hospital staff, nursing students, and other residents of the hospital community have been using the ramshackle structures as dwelling places against warnings by the government and the hospital management for them to vacate the building. Now, information gathered by the Daily Graphic at the Ministry indicated that the survey recommended the demolition of the structures as a better option than rehabilitation from a cost and structural competence point of view. But yesterday we were talking about uncompleted. Was it yesterday or a couple of days ago?
Yesterday, there was a story where the former president said he would finish uncompleted projects before building new ones.
Imagine these things had been erected in the 1960s. Successive governments saw this.
Yeah. Now, I want to take you to Parliament. There are a number of stories I felt we can touch on briefly. MPs demand independent probe into death of man at West Hills Mall. This is from Parliament. MPs are demanding an oversight inquiry into circumstances leading to the killing of a young man at the West Hills Mall in Accra. This is related to 32-year-old Shadrach Alu, who was confirmed dead at the hospital after video footage revealed some persons attacking him while he was handcuffed on the floor at the mall. This is citynewsroom.com. Still in Parliament, the Deputy Majority Leader is calling for a reduction in seats from 275 to 200. Alexander Fenyo-Markin is proposing that the number of seats in Parliament be reduced from 275 to 200. The MP for Futu constituency said his proposal will ease pressure on the public purse. Here's a quote: "I must say that one critical thing to look at is to put an upper limit on the number of MPs that we have or must elect each year. It's unpalatable that for a small country like Ghana, with its many financial problems, we have 275 MPs. In contrast, with all its financial muscle, Australia has 151 and 76 senators. We need a change in the law to stop the unnecessary expansion in the number of seats in our parliament. We must reduce the number of seats from 275 to 200. He was speaking at the Gimpa Law Conference. Then the last one from Parliament is from Kwesi Amoakwata, the Roads Minister. He's calling for a bipartisan probe into Akufo-Addo's claim of building the most roads in the Fourth Republic. Again, the Minister for Roads was in Parliament yesterday, was answering questions, and he suggested that the House must set up an independent bipartisan committee to investigate at my ministry the facts of the data. The President under his leadership has done more work in the road sector. Over to you, Caleb Kuda. You know what to do. So, those are the three stories from Parliament. Now, take me to Agric, front page of the Business Finder.
Okay, support vegetable producers. Ghanaian exporters are appealing to the government. The story on page 2 of the Business Finder says that it's actually by Julius K. Sachi in Accra. It says the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters, which is FAGE, has appealed to government to urgently support vegetable producers and exporters to take full advantage of the United Kingdom vegetable market, which is worth over 10 million US dollars. Now, the association said it was aware that government had built several greenhouse facilities across the country and that it was significant for the government to engage the Federation on how to maximize the facilities and put them to better use to benefit from the Ghanaian economy. Now, the vice president of the FAGE, who is Dr. Felix Kamasa, made a plea in an interview with the Business Finder following the acute shortage of vegetables in the United Kingdom, as reported by the Ghanaian newspaper. You know, when they left the EU, a number of issues have been emerging as to how they can even supply their own domestic market and all of that. And this expectation is that we can, tap into that and benefit from it. And yesterday, 2 days ago, the former Minister for Agriculture was also saying something interesting about how to make Agric the engine of growth for the Ghanaian economy.
All right, I want to take you somewhere. If Nathan, you don't have a story, I have quite a number of stories. Doctors in Wild West use phone touch to perform surgeries 2 years after theater lamps broke down. This is my Joy Online story. Really heartbreaking. Theater lamps at the Wild West District Hospital have not been working for almost 2 years. Doctors are therefore left with no choice but to use mobile phone touches to help them perform surgeries on patients. According to medical superintendent of the Wild West District Hospital, the situation is impeding work at the theater in Wichel. It's really affecting service because the lamp is the second eye for both the nurses and the doctors when we are doing an operation, Dr. Benjamin Ameyuri explained. Dr. Ameyuri told Joy News Service Regional Correspondent Rafik Salam that the development has significantly affected healthcare delivery at the facility.
This is in Wild West or East?
Wild West. Now, the medical practitioner recounted. So remember, Wild East was where the people were not going.
Yeah.
But Wild West is this is where this is happening now. The medical practitioner recounted an incident where his team needed to once again improvise during a surgery performed on a man with gastric perforation, a full thickness injury of the wall of the organ of the stomach. And we needed to close the hole to avoid the contents from the stomach from leaking out during the entire cavity. And I had to use 2 mobile phone lights, one on one side and the other on one, to be able to see clearly and continue the procedure. So they connect the mobile phone lights. You see these bright ones. They put it at an angle because apparently there's been a breakdown of the surgery light. Or,
How much is the surgery light?
I don't know. It's called the theater lamp. Forgive me. It's called a theater lamp.
Okay.
So the Upper Regional Health Directorate says it is deploying biomedical engineers to assess and repair damaged theater lamps at the West District Hospital. Well, I have a guy. He's called Dr. Mark Bagonluri. He is the guy who during the COVID led students to build
ventilators.
Yes. Incidentally, he's from the Upper West region. Maybe he wants to take a drive to the West Hospital with his students to see what he can do. He has over 50 patents in biomedical engineering. So he may be able to come up with a cheaper alternative. So he's the president of, what's the name of this university?
Academic City.
So Mark Bagonluri, I don't know where you are now, but please go to the Wild West Hospital and tell them I sent you there to go and assess the situation, because I know you can do it. Because you and you can just take 5 students, give them 3 weeks, they'll design a solution. Because some of these things, and you know, this is a good story because for every Wild West Hospital, and I'm sure there are a lot more. So it's not everything you need to procure with a lot of money and buy.
Yeah, we can solve some of those problems.
It will shock you that this guy and some students from tech can sit together, come up with a solution. So let's encourage them. Let's end with education. WAEC, and then Minister of Education cannot close down schools.
Well, yes, WAEC quickly has barred 5 SHSs from registering students for this year's WASI for charging unapproved fees. The affected schools are Ole Star Senior High and Technical School in Abesim, Gateway SHS, Lawrence SHS, both in Sunyani, First Class SHS Achimota, and Martin Luther SHS.
Meanwhile, Education Minister has threatened to close down schools.
And NAT says, hey, you can't do that. The National Association of Teachers says the Education Minister, Dr. Yause Duchum, does not have the power to close down any tertiary institution. NAT says the relevant provisions of the Pre-Tertiary Education Act make it clear that the management of the pre-tertiary school system so it says it essentially falls on the district and regional directors of education to go on and execute.
All right.
We need 30 billion to build nationwide rail network. If you want that story.
$30 billion.
$30 billion.
How?
If we want to build.
How much is our GDP?
This is the Citi Breakfast Show. The city's biggest conversation.
You know, Papa, see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa! Bobo, so how's your engine now? It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can feel better energy. Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that. Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched. Sancho Panza. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
The Citi Breakfast Show. Rise above the noise.
City Business News next brought to you by Gore, your OMC of choice. We make life ever so convenient. We now accept Momo for all purchases. Just remember to Momo it at Goyle. You can also use your bank card, that's all bank cards, to buy fuel at Goyle. Visit our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on Goyle_official for more information. Goyle Good Energy. Carrying multiple phones around can be such a chore. You can now go SIM-less with MTN eSIM and enjoy the convenience of connecting multiple phone numbers to one single phone or device. To check if your device is compatible, dial *#06#. Check. Once you receive an EID number, it means your phone or device is compatible. Download the My MTN app today to request your MTN eSIM and enjoy a sweet SIM-less life. MTN, everywhere you go. Natalie I was here with the City Business News. Good morning.
Good morning, Bernard, and good morning to you out there. Welcome to the breakfast edition of City Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN. Goyle and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citybusinessnews.com. Coming up, government urged to attach importance to regulations governing the securities market to restore confidence and avoid further damage to the economy. And fuel prices expected to drop at the pumps today. To our stories now. Oil marketing companies are expected to reduce prices of fuel at the pumps today. Prices of petrol, diesel, and LPG are expected to fall between 2 and 10%, with petrol selling for 12 cedis 60 pesos and 13 cedis 40 pesos for diesel, according to the Institute for Energy Security (IES). Many stakeholders have attributed this move to the falling prices on the world market. Adam Yakubu is a research analyst with the IES.
Domestic consumers of petroleum products are expected to see some further drop in the prices of these petroleum products. Over the next 2 weeks, prices are expected to drop between 2 and 10% as a result of activities monitored by the IES on the international market. The window closed with prices of petroleum products, that is petrol, closing at 13 cedis, 53 pesos, and diesel at 13 cedis, 69 pesos. LPG did some 15 cedis, 44 pesos. And on the international front, the prices of diesel and petrol had dropped significantly, about 5 and 3% respectively. And the cedi having gained some marginal against the dollar. So putting these two factors together, we expect that prices should drop between 2 and 10% on the domestic market going into the next 2 weeks from the 15th to the end of March.
Adam Yakubu is a research analyst with the IES. Meanwhile, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has attributed the drop in implementation to the gold for oil policy, which he says will save the country $4.8 billion annually.
This is remarkable. 2.5 months ago, you were at 23 cedis per liter. Today, you are at 12 cedis and falling. That is a good point. But let me note that, let me point out that the most important aspect of the gold for oil policy is not just the reduction in fuel price, but the most important aspect is the savings in foreign exchange that the Bank of Ghana will make as a result of the lower demand for forex to import oil. That saving is huge. We are currently importing about 50 to 60% of our oil imports under this policy. The goal is to move to 100%, and that will be done this year. We will see this done with, and we'll work with the BDCs to make this happen.
Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia speaking there. The coalition of individual bondholders has commended the government for initiating payments of delayed bond maturity and coupon payments that were originally scheduled for February 6 and 13, 2023. The group had previously given the Ministry of Finance 48 hours to settle all matured principal and outstanding coupons owed on government-issued bonds. Confirming the receipt of payments to Citi Business News, Senior Hosi, convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum, added that those who have not yet received their funds will soon receive them as banks work to credit their accounts.
Yesterday, the Ministry of Finance responded to our engagements and also to our release as well, and advised and shared the information that it had made payments for bonds that had maturities and coupons due on the 6th and the 13th of February. We cross-checked with the DSD, that was confirmed, and subsequently we also called members from our technical committee running treasury at the banks, also confirming receipt of the funds. The funds have been received and they are supposed to be credited to the accounts of the customers. Some, I believe, may have received it yet, and some other banks have indicated that there are some reconciliations ongoing to ensure appropriate accounts are credited, because there's been quite some administrative shift following the DD program. And that's the good news we've had.
He further urged government to communicate effectively, payment dates for outstanding bonds as he stresses that it is critical to restoring investor confidence within the financial sector.
Our challenge, nonetheless, has been the fact that while this is great, government management of information has been suboptimal, and we trust that the Ministry of Finance can and should be doing much, much better. The payments outstanding now are about 3 different maturities and coupon payments that are still yet to be paid. The communication received yesterday made no indication of when exactly. It at least acknowledged that the indicator in due course, or some they use Zoom, one of those indefinite words that were used. That does not augur well for confidence in the financial sector. There's always a need for predictability. Our view is that if you can't even tell exactly when, you should let us know that by this day, you would have to.
Senior Hosi is a convener for the Individual Bondholders Forum. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnainim has indicated that the relative stability recorded in the forex market is not directly a key determinant in the overall analysis of the marginal decline in the inflation rate for February. Inflation has dropped marginally to 52.8% for the month of February 2023 from the 53.6% recorded in January 2023. Professor Samuel Kobnainim has been speaking on the issue.
Relationship between exchange rate and inflation. It goes beyond the headline releases. But we've organized sessions for the media. We are hoping to sustain it, and we can always do that on demand to get an understanding of how we can analyze the relationship between the exchange rate and the rate of inflation. But let's always keep in mind that exchange rate is not a direct input for the computation of consumer price index and rate of inflation. And there's always the lag effect, and is compounded by other variables like interest rate that impacts on the relationship between exchange rate and inflation. So that conversation should be held in the context of how exchange rate theoretically is expected to influence inflation. In terms of the main drivers of inflation, we need to look at it again from a multiple perspective. The first perspective is at the 13 division level, what are the divisions that recorded the highest rate?
Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnainim speaking there. Meanwhile, economist Dr. Patrick Esuming has opined that the country has still not made significant efforts in bringing down the inflation rate to appreciable levels. He maintains that the figures, as announced, could be brought down if policymakers are able to activate and sustain favorable economic strategies. He's been speaking to Citi Business News.
Decline, however marginal, is welcome. We have to understand that, inflation rate of 52.8 is still very high. It's extremely high, even by Ghana's own historically relatively high inflation rate. 52.8 is still quite high. So it just tells us that we still haven't made significant progress in terms of taming inflation. And also, when you look at some of the breakdowns, you see food inflation of 59.1% is still very, very high. So while we've made some marginal progress in terms of stopping the inflation from running away any further, we have to admit that we still haven't made significant progress in taming. If we continue on the current trend, we might see additional marginal reduction.
Economist Dr. Patrick Esuming speaking there. Now on interbank foreign exchange markets, where banks trade amongst themselves, the dollar remained unchanged and is selling at 11 cedis 2 pesos. The British pound lost 1 peso and is selling at 13 cedis 3 pesos. The euro lost 2 pesos and is selling at 11 cedis 6 pesos. However, at some forex bureaus within the capital, the dollar is selling for 12 cedis 60 pesos, while the British pound is selling for 15 cedis and the euro for 13 cedis 20 pesos. Let's now join Mark Jordan Sikanati of Databank for updates on the bonds market.
The local secondary bond market slowed 21.67% from the week open session to a volume traded of 36 million Ghana cedis at the close of trading session on Tuesday, 14th March. The Databank bond index remained flat at 97.41 points with an average yield to maturity of 9.59% as there were no trades recorded in the new government of Ghana bonds. On upcoming Treasury bill offers, the Ghanaian Treasury seeks to raise 2.78 billion Ghana cedis to cover estimated maturities worth 2.64 billion Ghana cedis. The offers will focus on the 91-day and the 182-day bills.
That was Mark Jordan Sikanate of Databank. And that does it for the breakfast edition of City Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN, Goyle, and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citybusinessnews.com. My name is Netelinete Ajaho. Have a good business day.
If home is where the heart is, then let's go home, shall we? Let's go where the entertainment is, where the passion is, where the laughter is, and sometimes even the tears too. Let's go where we feel safe enough to share our opinions.
And send tweets.
Where we do that embarrassing little dance to our favorite song. Let's go home where the love, the care, and the joy live.
There's no place.
City973 and Instagram at instagram.com/City973. Hashtag City.
The investment goals of our customers with attractive solutions. Yeah, we've always been a safe haven for investors who value security as well as competitive returns. With easy access to track your funds, we offer flexible deposit products for 91 days, 182 days, and 365 days. Open a fixed deposit account with us now. Call us 0577 707 700. Let's achieve your goals together. Let's share our savings and loans, a trusted safe haven for your investment. News is also brought to you by Shell Fuel Save. Our triple action formula improves engine efficiency, prevents deposit buildup, and protects your engine from wear and corrosion for extra cleaning, extra protection, and extra savings. Switch to Shell Fuel Save today because extra kilometers go a long way. Go well. Nathan Kwame is here for the Thursday edition of Kickoff. Welcome again.
Thank you very much, Bernard. In the headlines, Didi Dramani calls on Ghanaians to have some patience for Chris Hughton as the new Black Stars era begins a little later. Hearts of Oak to make decision on the head coach of their team, or the future of the head coach of their team, Zlatko Matic, and Real Madrid and Napoli prevail on a night of exciting Champions League fixtures. Let's start off with the Black Stars, and we'll hear from Executive Committee or Executive Council member of the GFA, Samir Nimado, and he's urged the new Black Stars coach, Chris Hughton, to establish his authority over the team in order to achieve positive results. Chris Hughton was confirmed a few weeks ago. He'll be officially unveiled on Monday, and he will have to contend with Angola over 2 legs in his first 2 assignments for the national team. And Samir Nimado is telling Chris Hughton that he needs to have a tough hand to handle the Black Stars and steer them to big wins.
I expect him to be the man who will do things that will make everybody happy. He will take decisions that will make everybody happy. He will take decisions that will make the nation happy. The national team is for the nation. It's not for the GFA. It's not for anybody. It's for the nation. So a coach must know how to satisfy the main actors. It's the nation first. The coach should be able to do things that will make the nation happy. The coach should not be doing things that will let people talk about him too much, because unfortunately our people talk. Our people like talking. Some of us don't subscribe to it, but there's nothing you can do. So as the coach, you must be able to make sure you take decisions that will make the talking come less. And that decision is making sure that you are on top of your game, you are the head coach, and the players must look at you into your eyes and know that if they don't do the right thing, they are off.
So that's Executive Council member of the GFA, Sami Enimadu, speaking there. Let's stay with Chris Hughton. And one of his assistants is Masoud Didi Dramani. He's telling Ghanaians to temper their expectations of winning the postponed AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire. Remember, it was scheduled that this year we would all be going to Cote d'Ivoire to play the AFCON, but it's not happening. It will be played in 2024. And like I said earlier, Chris Hughton's first two assignments will be against Angola, in Ghana, and in Luanda. And Masoud Didi Dramani has been telling City Sports that fans should just relax a little for the head coach, and that is premature to set sights on winning the next AFCON.
I think that we need to get on board in the process of what we are doing. And I've said it time again that in as much as coaches are very responsible, and in our own thoughts also, we are also very responsible in terms of our huge expectations, in terms of our huge responsibility in various departments. It could be media, it could be medical, it could be coaching, it could be administration. Everybody has a responsibility to play in terms of success. And so sometimes we look at just the end product. The coaches are on the page, the players are on the page. But I think that it's a holistic mindset of alignment that we need to bring on board. And I think that it is very, very early days here to be thinking about, when the house is complete, how we are going to sleep in it.
So that's Masoud Didi Dramani, who is one of Chris Hughton's assistants in the Black Stars coaching setup. Let's stay with some more local football. And chairman of Accra Hearts of Oaks National Chapters Committee, Elvis Herman Hesse, expects a decision to be made soon on the future of the team's head coach Zlatko Matic. Now, the Serbian coach has been absent from the team's last two games. Fans disrupted his training session very recently. And according to Herman Hesse, the club is talking about Zlatko Matic's future. And very soon we should get an understanding as to whether he stays or goes, or he gets to still work with the Phobians.
The Zlatko Matic issue has become an issue for the management and the board of the club. We at the supporters level will be waiting patiently for the board and the management to communicate to us because it's a contractual issue. So I know for sure that the board is handling the issue very well, and very soon they will communicate to the NCC and the general public. So I wouldn't have a lot to say about it. But I know for a fact also that until the board settles whatever differences they have with the coach, Coach Okulu, the assistant coach, will continue to perform that role.
So that was Elvis Herman Hesse, who's chairman of Accra Hearts of Oaks National Chapters Committee. Let's move on to the Champions League, and it was exciting times in Madrid and Naples last night as the second legs of that exciting batch of games were played. Real Madrid, they beat Liverpool by a goal to nil. Karim Benzema scoring in the 77th minute to ensure that Real Madrid go through 6-2 on aggregate. Remember, they won 5-2 at Anfield 2 weeks ago, and they managed to keep the flag flying as they beat Liverpool by a goal to nil. They progressed to the last 8. Let's hear from the two managers who were involved in it. First, we'll hear from Carlo Ancelotti, and then we'll hear from Jurgen Klopp.
It's a game at the end. At the game, we were worried at the beginning, of course. Before the game, we wanted to plan an open game, don't think only to defend. I think that we managed really well the ball from the back, taking in consideration that Kroos, Modric, they have a lot of ability, experience to move the ball, and for that reason, I think we had a good control. We were quite dangerous in front. We didn't risk a lot behind, so the match that that was the match that we wanted to plan.
Being 5-2 down is obviously not a great result. If you want to go through, you need to have a really special performance, and we couldn't put a special performance on the pitch tonight. It was, in moments, an open game, I would say, but Madrid had a better chances. Ali had to make 2 sensational saves. Wow. In the end, the goal is a scrappy one, but that's obviously not decisive anymore. So the right team went through. That's what we have to admit. And Madrid controlled the game. We gave them the opportunity to control it. So, yeah, knockout stages are like this. There are probably 500,000 different ways to go out. This was ours tonight. It's not what we wanted, but it's what we got. Yeah, and now we have to carry on.
That was Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp. Before him, you heard Real Madrid boss Carlo Ancelotti. The other tie on the night had Napoli beating Frankfurt 3-0. Victor Osimhen scored a brace and Piotr Zielinski added a penalty to send the Neapolitans through 5-0 on aggregate. They all go into the hat for the quarter-final draw, which will be held on Friday at 11 a.m. Later today, there are some Europa League ties. Round of 16 second legs to be played. Real Betis, they are at home in Seville. They take on Manchester United. They are 4-1 down from the first leg. Man United winning big. But despite the advantage, Man United manager Erik ten Hag says he will still put up a strong lineup ahead of tonight's game.
It's always serious, and we will play our best team, and definitely we have to put up a team what can adapt during the game, and we know our opponent can, because they have a good team, they have really good players, so they have a lot of variations, so we have to be aware of that, and we have to be ready to go and battle with them.
Man United manager Erik ten Hag speaking there. Let's get to the camp of Arsenal. They drew 2-2 with Sporting Club of Lisbon from the first leg, and Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, he says he does not see the Europa League as a distraction to their Premier League title hopes.
No, we haven't had big European nights for 3 years due to COVID, especially. Tomorrow is probably the first one that we had for a while, and hopefully we will build a really good atmosphere and enjoy, and even with our supporters, against a really good team that is going to put a big challenge in front of us.
Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta speaking there. In other selected ties, Fenerbahce take on Sevilla. They are tied at 1-1. Feyenoord will face Shakhtar Donetsk. They are also tied at 1-1. And Freiburg welcomes Juventus. Juventus lead 1-0 from the first leg. All of this in the Europa League. Let's stay with Man United, and potential suitor for Man United's ownership, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is scheduled to attend a presentation at the club's potential sale process on Friday. Now, representatives of Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani from Qatar are also expected to visit the club today. The Glazer family announced their contemplation of selling the club, and Man United's management is exploring various options to attract suitable investors who can contribute to the club's future growth and success. We'll keep an eye on that and find out who gets to own Man United going forward. But let's end with some basketball, and there were wins for the LA Clippers, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Miami Heat, and the Sacramento Kings. For the Clippers, they beat the Golden State Warriors 134-126, despite Steph Curry's 50 points on the night. Philadelphia beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, while the Sacramento Kings beat the Chicago Bulls 117-114, thanks to a late one from De'Aaron Fox. He scored yet another buzzer beater to help the Kings beat the Bulls in a West versus East showdown in the NBA. I think it's a West versus West rather showdown in the NBA. And that's how we end this morning's edition of Kickoff, brought to us by Shell and Lecheho. My name is Nathan Carr. Many thanks for listening. There's more sport on citysportsonline.com, and there's more news on our subsequent bulletins on TV and radio throughout the day. Do have a fantastic day. Stay safe. Take care, and bye-bye.
If you need unique services, innovative financial solutions, we deliver on our promise, cause we are number one. Let's go, we improve your life. Let's go, hey mama, hey mama, hey mama. Even when you're stuck with nothing, come to Let's go. No matter your situation, come to Let's go. Let's go, we improve your life. Let's go, hey, let's go, hey mama, hey mama, hey mama. Let's go, we improve your life.
Leshego Savings and Loans. Let's improve life.
Extra, let me tell you all about it.
Hey, Dolomistic. You and this your extra thing. Abeg, tell me about it.
Abenquine, look, extra is what you and your car get when you switch to Shell Fuel Save. Extra protection, extra clean, and extra savings. You get it?
Eh? And no, I mean, tell me extra.
Shell Fuel Save is designed to improve engine efficiency instantly and with triple action formula that helps protect your engine from wear, corrosion, and deposit, so you get extra kilometers out of your drive.
Sir, and you're not extra, good for your engine. Extra, good for your pocket.
Extra kilometers goes a long way. Switch to Shell Fuel Save today. Go well.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
For Pepsodent, smiles are one of the most important things we have. The problem is, globally, 1 in 2 children suffer from cavities. Pepsodent, with maximum cavity protection, helps to prevent the formation of cavities. Pepsodent, because every smile matters. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
It's time to help the kids with their math.
Oh, Angie, I have to quickly rush to Zenith Bank before they close. You know someone stole my card, and I have to go block it.
Kwesi, you are going to sit in all that traffic. When there's an enhanced Z Mobile Ghana app, just download the app and instantly chat with Zenith Bank to have your card blocked right from here.
Oh, really? Okay. I also have to schedule the bill payment. I'll be right back.
Hey, Kwesi, you are not going anywhere. With the enhanced Z Mobile Ghana app, you can schedule payment as well.
Hey, Z Mobile here, Z Mobile there, Z Mobole everywhere. Then let me download it there. Yeah. Nana, come here for studies.
Live life in the easy lane with the enhanced Z Mobile Ghana app. Do more transactions on the go. Buy data, change PIN, set travel notifications, initiate cash withdrawals at any Zenith Bank ATM without a card. You can even log in with your fingerprint or your face. Download the Z Mobile Ghana app from the App Store or Play Store today. Z Mobile, easy does it. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
There's no price like the ShopRite price. That's why we are committed to bringing you lower prices on all the essentials you need. Like 450 grams Kellogg's Cornflakes, only 24 cedis, 99 pesos worth. And 1 liter Peak Full Cream UHT milk, just 24 cedis, 99 pesos worth. Never pay more than the ShopRite price. Prices valid until 26 March, only at ShopRite.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Health Tidbits is brought to you by the Nyaho Medical Center.
Welcome to Nyaho Health in the City. Do you know that smoking is the leading cause of most preventable deaths worldwide? It is a leading cause of various types of cancer, including lung, throat, bladder, pancreatic, and kidney cancer. Smoking can cause yellowing of teeth, bad breath, and gum diseases, which can lead to tooth loss. If you smoke, quitting is the best thing you can do for your health. Talk to a doctor about strategies to help you quit for good. You can always count on our team of medical experts to offer the help that counts. Stay tuned next week for more Health in the City tips. Call or WhatsApp us on 050-143-6662 for further enquiries, or follow Nyaho Medical Center on social media for more Health in the City tips. Nyaho, improving your quality of life.
Health Tidbits was brought to you by the Nyaho Medical Center.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is City 97.3.
The City Breakfast Show. Rise above the noise.
City Breakfast Show. Lots of good friends celebrating their birthdays today. Starting off with this one. Good morning, Bernard and team. Please help me wish my big sisters who are twins a very happy birthday and 22nd wedding anniversary. They got married on the same day, same church. Mrs. Hajima Nafra and Mrs. Hakora Vodzogbe. You have been a blessing to Usamanga family. We pray for God's continuous blessings upon you. A cattle each for you. From your only brother, the regent of Mamprugu, Kambona Bandana, and the entire Usamanga family. To Hajima Nafera and Hakora Vodzogbe. A daughter is a wonderful gift from God that brings such joy to our hearts and lives. As parents, we want nothing but the best for our children. We pray for her safety, health, happiness, and future. Our daughter's birthday from Mr. and Mrs. Azameti to Princess Mauto Azameti of Blessed Laura Catholic School in Tema. Good morning to Stephen Amo Mensah, Assistant Registrar, University of Ghana. We used to call him Osofu. Osofu. It's just that the song I'm playing is not a good song for him. You know, he's a proper man of God, proper theologian. Yes, change the song. Oh, you are worsening the situation. Godfrey. Osofu, don't mind Godfrey, why? Stephen Amo Mensah. He's the alumni chairman of LPU. Yeah, he's a big man. Also wishing Esinam. Hey, Charlie, what's Esinam saying himself? I forget to. Okay, those who don't know. Esinam, happy birthday to you. Coming in from your siblings, Senna and the others. Charlie, I need to do this request better. And to Faith Daniel Ifeansa, Morning Star School, from your parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ansa. Wishing you a beautiful day and a successful life. We thank God for your life. Happy birthday to you.
I also have one. A happy birthday to Stephen Obin-Kwating of the Center for Business Analysis. He's a great guy. He's a very good friend. So, Steve, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to Reverend Emmanuel Uku. You're 60 years old. You are a member of the Restoration Life Family Church. This is from your wife, children, and the entire family. And from Mr. and Mrs. Harrison Addo, we love you. Also, a spirit-filled birthday to Michael Kwabena Mensah. May God enlarge your coast from your loving mom, darling Palm. Wishing my old boy, Mr. Aaron Cody, a glorious birthday. He may not have won a national award, but he'll forever be our best dad. Best thing he taught us was to love humanity. Cheers, Paps. Remember, we love you. From Phil, Josh, Esther, and Zach. Happy birthday to my husband, Will Aye Egbajo of GRA. Definitely must have done something pretty incredible in a past life to land you as my husband. Oh, I like that. You're an amazing person, and I count myself blessed being your wife. From Giftiteria. A wife's testimony of the husband in public. If the man was not good, she wouldn't say it. After that one, we know. So this is from Giftiteria to Will Aye Egbajo.
I see.
Yeah. A couple more from you.
Yeah, a few more. This one says, please wish Dr. Aku Kokui a happy birthday. That's message came from our colleague Benjamin Aklama.
And nice one there.
Yeah, and this one says, a very blessed birthday to my son, Dylan Osei Team of Vine Christian School.
Is it?
He turns 8 today. That's from his dad, Eddie Osei Team.
Wonderful. And the message earlier came in to Esinam Podo. Esinam Podo from your sister Lauren, Senna, Tivo, and your other siblings. To you, Esinam. Happy birthday to you.
Another one from me. The staff of Source One Group would like to wish Mr. Simon Anand, the CEO, a happy birthday. And they say our desire is to see you grow from grace to grace.
I also want to say good morning to my friend Mabel Vivier. He got married this weekend. You know, I remember Mabel. So remember on the health check event last year. Mabel Vivier's sister. And who else? A couple of people. They were dancing some Asaboni to this Lumba song. They were at the Golden Bean Hotel, and they were playing some Lumba. Mabel's younger sister, Charlie. You know that Lumba thing he does. Charlie. Hey. Mabel got married over the weekend to her sweetheart. So Mabel, I couldn't attend the wedding, but I'm so happy for you. God bless you. I wish you a successful marriage. You're such a great person. And Mabel was for many, many years at Star Ghana. You know, those days that Star Ghana used to sponsor things, Charlie. When you go, Mabel is the one who sent the email.
If she doesn't send email, things will move.
Charlie, Star Ghana, we can suffer for life. God, later you go to Star Ghana for some small coins. Charlie, the report you write. Hey, my brother. Charlie, donor money is not good, though. I've Charlie, donor money. I think twice before I chop donor money. Again, this guy. Star Ghana has taught me that donor money is not good to chop. Hey, Charlie. I think that you go do. Let me say good morning to Amidu Tanko of Star Ghana, to Alamisi Dabre of Star Ghana, to Esther. Is it Tobin? I'm remembering the Star Ghana people. I'm forgetting Charlie. Charlie. I had to go. In fact, I had to employ a woman to help me do that work. Hey, 5,000 Star Ghana training program. Right report. And the worst part of all, they say, how do you break these results down into just gender something? Hey. Not confused about my election project. Star Ghana.
Hold my hand documentary.
Oh my Lord.
You go finish it.
Charlie. So maybe Vivian and the Star Ghana family. God bless you.
You know, Bernard, yesterday I was having an interesting conversation with some colleagues and friends of mine in Parliament. You know, and I was telling them that, look, if you scan around, there are a lot of funds available externally. Looking for people. And that if our MPs... If our MPs were so minded,
donor money,
they will rely on many of, because these funds are there.
Yeah.
But you see, the procedure that you need to engage to first of all receive the money, and then the auditing process. I
tell you,
Charlie.
But on a more serious note,
it
teaches me something that Western donor funds, you have to be accountable.
There's no free money.
I tell you, you will write report. Sometimes over 50 pages.
You will justify it.
Yeah.
Everything you buy, you have to produce the evidence that you actually bought it and used it.
I've dealt with donors a bit. Some of the most rigorous accounting systems I've seen in my life.
Yep.
Germany.
Allah.
Hey! Oh, as Umar Rosana will say, lie. So be like, if you take a German's money that you are going to do a project, even if you buy a mobile phone credit, you report. You have to write the serial number of the credit you bought. Hey!
It's a blood and tail of the.
But it tells you that some people take their money seriously. And one of the reasons we are not doing well is that we think everything is free. And the other point, this thing I was saying about Star Ghana, which I'm like joking with, you have to track the results of what you do.
I see.
So they are saying, we are giving you $10,000. Say you're going to train journalists to do election. No problem. Where did you pick the journalists from? How did you train them? What did they learn? What work did they do? Okay. How has your work improved after 6 months since you did the work? You have to, and they force you to think, and they even force you to even think about how you even do your programming. And I'm really grateful for that. And if we start focusing on result, if we become more results-oriented, as against just being task-oriented, all right? So like, we are going to train journalists. We are just doing it. No, they want you to track results. They want you to think about your solution. So there's a place for that.
It's a great.
Anyway, so you enjoy your what's the name of this guy? No,
this is Ohimba Kisi. Yeah. ABC of love.
Yeah.
And all of this was because of Mabel Vivier.
Yeah.
She was on Heritage Caravan 2019.
Thank you.
And she got married on Saturday.
Thank you. Congratulations.
And last year, sister was on Heritage Caravan dancing as a bunny to Daddy Lumba's love. I took a video and sent to her sister. I said, look at the things your sister is doing here. Dancing to Lumba song. That's the Lumba song. See that Lumba dance?
But no, Lumba, he's an institution.
It's not. It's not. Forts and castles. This time we moved to Osu. We did Fort Byzantine a couple of days ago. We spoke about their sin. Today we're coming to Accra. But if you're seeking to live, work, or study in the UK, your journey to the UK begins with the IELTS. This Thursday, the 16th of March, the British Council is inviting you to attend an IELTS exhibition happening at British Council Auditorium in Accra. Starts at 10 a.m., ends at 3:30 p.m. Entry is free. Come and meet trained IELTS study partners with their experience to help you prepare for the IELTS test. The first 50 attendees will receive a premium version of the Road to IELTS preparatory material valued at $80. Don't miss this opportunity to find out how to prepare for the IELTS to get your journey to living, working, and studying in the UK started. Imagine waking up to the shocking realization that a part of your precious hair has been cut off. Well, I woke up to that realization recently. And it's even more frustrating when you've been patiently growing your strands to get in on the latest fashion trend. Well, introducing iVest account from Easyway Savings and Loans, a fixed-term investment account that delivers great returns on your investment over a short period of time with no haircut. Open an iVest account today with a minimum of 5,000 cedis and watch your money grow. Call Easyway Savings and Loans on 055-144-144 or visit easyway.com.gh for more information. Easyway, no haircut. or IVES rather. It was right after his studies in recycle management that Paul Kofi accepted the challenge of building houses with plastic waste. Today, not only does he help in recycling waste to save the environment, Paul provides jobs for many Ghanaians. At ABSA, this is what we call Africanacity, the distinct ability of the Ghanaian to always get things done. Africanacity is our inspiration. It defines who we are and what we do. It's our commitment to helping people find a way to get things done. To find out more, visit absa.com.gh. And if you're finding it challenging managing our value-added services on Vodafone, then Vodafone Content Manager now allows you to check, control, and subscribe to value-added services with ease. Simply dial *463# or visit my Vodafone app now to conveniently manage all content subscriptions. Couple more happy birthday greetings to two of my great friends, Kojo Ajabeng. I think Kojo sells cars. He's a good car salesman. And to Dr. Yao Pebi as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Two great guys. Happy birthday to you, Kojo, and to you, Yao.
But I also have one last birthday before I give a couple of announcements. This one says, today is my wife's birthday. Jacqueline Ifwa Colson, CEO of Agro Yard Company Limited. The message is coming from her husband. He's the one who sent.
And this one is coming in.
Mr. Okweni, aka Tojo.
Okay.
Oh, no, I think that's okay. Yeah, Tojo sent that.
All right, this one is also coming in to Leslie Kalisni Komitete of New Horizon School. Happy birthday from Johnny.
Alrighty, take the next step to own your future by taking the IELTS with the British Council. The IELTS is the International Language Testing System and is an English proficiency test used to measure if someone can speak English, write English, and read as well enough to study or work abroad in an English-speaking country, and is accepted by immigration authorities in the UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the US. Register with the British Council. Grabbing your favorite drink for all your different occasions can be tricky, but no stress. Your favorite Coca-Cola has you covered. So you can go on and grab your favorite 300 ml Coke Classic plastic bottle, now selling at 5 cedis, or the same size 300 ml Coke Zero Fanta Sprite selling at 4 cedis. And if you want a larger quantity, you can get the 1.5 liter Coke Classic, which is selling at 20 cedis, and the same size 1.5 liter Coke Zero Fanta and Sprite selling at 18 cedis. Bring the excitement and fun to all your occasions and enjoy the real ice cold refreshments with your friends and family.
7:50. Let's talk about some of the big issues. So first one, Anas Kennedy Japan case. He had sued the MP over defamation, 25 million cedis. The matter had been in court for a while, and yesterday the judge delivered his judgment in favor of the accused, if that's the word to use. Yeah. So in favor of, is it the accused?
The defendant.
The defendant, so it's a different one between. So is it, okay, what's the difference between the accused?
The accused is where you are standing a criminal trial.
Oh, okay. So in a civil trial, it's called what?
You are the plaintiff.
So the plaintiff is the guy who's not happy.
Yeah, that's right. Or the claimant, as in the UK. But here we use the technical.
And then the guy who's at the receiving end is called the.
So the plaintiff is the person who initiates the.
So Anas is the plaintiff.
Yeah.
And Kennedy Japan is the
defendant.
But if it was a criminal case,
it would have still been the defendant.
What about the guy who's prosecuting? It's also the plaintiff.
Yeah. In the criminal case, you have the accused, who is the person accused of committing an offense.
Okay.
And then when you.
What about the person who's prosecuting?
Is the prosecutor.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, the state prosecutor who may be prosecuting, or GRA official.
What's the difference between a civil case and a criminal case?
So in civil trials, you are talking about dispute between two parties, or two or more parties. It may be civilians who are suing each other because you owe me some money and I want to collect the money. In that case, it is outside the realm, strictly speaking, of the state. But in criminal trial, the state is prosecuting, or maybe an individual is prosecuted. There are limited circumstances where you can prosecute Godfred for committing an offense against the state. But largely speaking, it is the state that is prosecuting someone for either stealing money, breaking corruption rules or laws, or maybe causing financial loss to the state, or murdering someone.
So
those are criminal.
so civil cases are between two individuals.
Yeah.
I'm told that the standard for determining a civil case is not the same as the standard for determining a criminal case. Is that true?
Yeah, so the threshold is lower.
Okay.
Because, I mean, in criminal trials, the punishment that is exacted could possibly lead to depriving you of your liberties.
Okay.
So when, for instance, you're accused of committing murder, it could lead to you being convicted on that charge, and then you could also be exterminated, in other words. Killed.
You can be exterminated.
Yeah, that's right. Like the Constitution and our laws recognize what we call capital punishment. So then you can also be executed.
So the standard for determining a criminal case is higher.
Yeah.
Because the punishment is
it's severe. But in civil cases, where in this particular case defamation, the threshold is lower.
And because of that, the standard of proof is higher. So that I'm told that the standard of proof for the criminal case is something they call beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
But the standard of proof for a civil case is
Preponderance of probability.
Okay, I get it now. So if you say somebody has committed a crime, you must prove it beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah. So that there's no doubt in the mind of the tribunal of fact or the court or the jury that, look, this crime was actually committed, and it was committed by the person accused of committing it. But where there is a doubt, the law requires that you resolve it in favor of the person accused of committing the crime.
Sorry, I'm doing this thing, but I just feel like we need to educate ourselves before we enter the Anas case. So there's something they call the balance of probability.
Yeah, balance of probability.
That's for the civil case. But for criminal case, beyond reasonable doubt. What about the burden of proof? I'm told that in criminal cases, the prosecutor has the burden of proof. So that if you accuse me of committing a crime, you, the accused, so like if you are the Attorney General's rep in court, you have a bigger job than, say, if it's a civil case and I've gone. It's like the civil case, like two of us have gone to a chief to settle our dispute. Like Wakami with Timmy, until he should pay. So the chief can look at the two sides and decide who's right. But in a criminal case, the guy who's accusing has a lot more of the work to do.
Yeah, you see, so it is much more complex than that.
Okay.
Because there are times that the burden will shift depending on which particular crime you are prosecuting.
Okay.
But in all cases, there are preliminary facts that would have to be established. So, for instance, there may be a law that says that you should not be somewhere at 8 p.m. If you are there at 8 p.m., it doesn't matter what you were doing there. The law says don't be there at 8 p.m. So, where that burden is imposed, what it means then is all the prosecution has to prove is that you were there at 8 p.m.
Okay.
Now, you would have to provide justification as to why you were there at 8 p.m., in which case the burden would have shifted, because in that case, you are trying to show to the court that, oh, yes, you may have been there at 8 p.m., but this was the reason, and that exception is provided by.
So let's come to the case of Anas. So this is a few things to understand. 60-something pages judgment. The judge is a justice of the appeal court, but they say he sits as an additional high court judge.
Yeah, so
again, I don't understand that thing.
Okay, so normally you would have judges who would sit on specific courts at specific levels. So if you are a high court judge, you decide high court cases. But in exceptional cases where perhaps for some reason we do not have enough justices to deal with matters, the Chief Justice and our laws and procedures require or allow the Chief Justice to assign judges higher the rank to go down and decide cases at the lower level. So in this case, strictly speaking, Court of Appeal judge, but had to come down a notch, lower to deal with this particular case before the High Court.
I'm also told that in civil suits as well, the primary burden of proof could be on the person making the claim.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's why you were saying it's not as simple as that.
Yeah, that's right. So, it's when you go there...
We shouldn't try and over-separate the two.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just for purposes of education. But you've said that the standard of proof is definitely higher in criminal cases than in civil cases.
That's
I
right.
get that. All right. Now, again, the judgments are long. So, their point. So, the judgment was read yesterday, and the full 63 pages was ready. So sometimes you go to court as journalists, and they don't have the full judgment ready. So, is there like a standard expectation? Because in some cases you go to court and you're unable to get your hands on the full judgment, so you can just report what the judge said in court. In fact, I remember there was a couple of times I went to court for reporting, and you basically have to listen to what the man says and write it with shorthand. and then when you are done, you now go behind the scenes to say, can we get a copy
of the judgment?
But yesterday, I think the full judgment was ready right after the time you read it.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we have, strictly speaking, when a judgment is delivered, it actually needs to be signed off by the judge, and the registrar would have to put a seal or evidence of some stamp from the registry of the court on it. Let me just issue that caveat that what I have before me, which I have read, is not exactly that form of judgment. In other words,
the stamp.
Yeah,
this is like a soft copy.
So it's a soft copy. So let me issue that.
So it's probably subject to a few changes.
Exactly, because I mean sometimes judgment is delivered. The court will make a pronouncement and say that this is my decision, but in 2 weeks I'll give my reasons for coming to that conclusion, which would mean that although they have formed or they have had conference and decided, okay, we are dismissing this particular case or application, we'll give you the full reasons, because case law would have to be, because if you look through the judgment, they are referencing cases, decided cases that are on our law books, and then also cases from outside, jurisdiction.
When you say case law, what do you mean?
Case law. So the law is either written down by Parliament or in the Constitution, or judges have put the law in action. So in implementing the law or in explaining the law, judges also deduce all kinds of things out of the law.
That's why they quote. They will say, Justice Atuguba JJSC said this. Justice Mensah. So that's case law.
Exactly. The law as, implemented by the judge.
So you can have the explicit constitution, you can have the law on paper, you can also say, based on the Ghana law reports, this guy in this particular case made this judgment, and therefore you think that in the spirit of that same judgment, they can apply it.
Exactly. So in simple terms, the case law is the law in action, how the judges have implemented.
So that's the one you have to chew and pour a lot. You have to learn a lot.
Yeah, because it's not enough to just know that article.
But there are so many cases in the world. How do you know which one to learn?
Well, that is the trick of law students. I mean, you have to commit them largely.
So you are supposed to, again, and listeners, what I'm doing, Sky, is the preliminary around. When we come back from taking social media trends, then he'll go into the full judgment. So I'm trying to get some basic legal understandings here. Because I tried to read the judgment, by the time I got to like page 5, I was already tired. So I was looking for the executive summary, and I said, "Hey, just
the legal documents."
But it means that if you even go to court and sit and listen to a judge, it's a whole academic exercise.
Yeah.
Because, look at the arrangement. The guy has the introduction. Then he has the case of the plaintiff. He lists it as A, and that's quite long with all the various XI, XSVV things. Then he has the case of the defendant. Then he has the issues. And then he has the additional issues. Then he has the written addresses. Then he has the approach. Then he has the choice of law. Then he has the burden of proof. Then he goes to plenty cases is listed here. Plenty, too many to remember. Then he has defamation and freedom of expression as a general point. He comes to the Constitution. He now breaks the whole thing down, picks authorities from all over the world, and then comes to elements of defamation. And then by this time I was already asleep. Then he comes to types of defamation. Then he has the words that were actually defamatory. Then he comes to the words of the plaintiff. Now he deals with this person. Charlie, it's not easy. How much do we even pay these guys? then he has the defenses. Charlie, he lists Kumado's 5 defenses: absolute privilege, qualified privilege, fair comment, justification, and consent. He deals with all the 5. Then he now comes to remedies. And then he now deals with specific dates, 29th May, something. He comes, So does he write all this in one day?
Well, not exactly. You can't do this in a day, because, you have to research the law. You have to be sure of whether a particular authority you're relying on is current.
And this is not even a long case, because there are cases that...
Yeah, I mean, you can read a judgment that is over 200 pages.
Charlie!
200-page judgment.
Yeah.
Charlie, this law thing is not a joke.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Bernard, if you go and check, the actual judgment is probably hidden somewhere.
To be fair, it's not. You see, the reason why...
Or everything builds up.
You see, the reason why you have to take it together is that, we media, our job is different. We want, at the end of the day, what did he say?
But,
and in fact, in doing that, sometimes you can distort a judgment.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Fred was telling me that, as a legal correspondent, your job is to find out the gravamen. What is the judge really saying? And sometimes when you push the guy to say, the judge is saying something, but he's building it up to say why he said it.
Yes.
So if you simply say, well, he said Anas is wrong and Kennedy is right. And for example, yesterday he said Anas is engaged in is it investigative terrorism? Okay. Now that is a part of what the judge said. Okay. It will not be fair. I mean, I don't know. In our job, we have to use that because that's what the main case is, whether Anas is right or wrong. All right. But it's not as simple as that. Yeah, you have to understand what he's trying to say, where he's coming from, if there's even a grounds of appeal, why Anas feels slighted, why Kennedy is saying what he's saying. So it's very complex. So sometimes we have to spend time. I'm going to give you time to go through this for me because it's an important case in investigative journalism and all the issues around. All right. So this is the foundation that we are laying, and I'll give Sky a few minutes to explain the case, and then we'll opine on it. If we do think Anas has a right of appeal, is he going to take that right? Is he going to let sleeping dogs lie? What are the implications of this for other kinds of works that other investigative journalists do? And all of these things are coming up. But it's 3 minutes past 8. Let's get into tech and social media trends. It's brought to you by Vodafone. And Nathan Kwao is going to give us the trends for the morning. All right, Nathan.
Well, yes, several things trending, of course. They are all spillovers from last night's Champions League encounter. So you have trends like Klopp. You've got trends. Trent is trending. So Klopp, Trent, Real Madrid, all trending because of last night's episode at the Santiago Bernabeu.
Bernard has said that he doesn't want to.
He said he doesn't.
He said that before the match, so we are not asking.
So those are other things trending there. Gold for oil is also trending there as well. In terms of the tech news, and Bernard, you mentioned this earlier, but let's go into a few details. Now, the US government says TikTok should be sold or else face a possible ban in the country. The video sharing app owned by Chinese firm ByteDance is accused of posing a national security threat through data gathered from millions of users. A request for change in ownership, first reported in the Wall Street Journal, was confirmed to BBC News by TikTok. The company said a forced sale would not change its data flows or access. In all of this, the White House is yet to give a response to the BBC's request for a comment.
Yeah, I'm not on TikTok.
Oh, really?
I don't understand it.
Well, it's basically, it's an interesting place to be.
Oh, you are there?
Oh, yes. I mean, just to monitor and know what's happening in the system.
Are you there?
Oh, yeah, I am.
Are you there? Me, I'm not there.
You should. The guys who manage your account should go there.
No, it's okay. I have Facebook, I have Twitter.
No, we can use it to preach the gospel.
We can use it to preach.
It's okay. Oh, it's okay.
So that's the news from TikTok. The US government says sell it or it may face a possible ban in the US.
All right. One day we'll do a show about this TikTok thing and why the US is so concerned about it. I call it the TikTok wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday as well, we are told that Meta was going to lay off another 10,000 workers. In fact, if you look at the number of tech jobs that have been wiped out since January.
About 500,000.
It's unbelievable. Tech industry is going through a lot. Now, their main bank has also collapsed.
Oh, Charlie.
So technology is going through a lot of things. You need to keep an eye on that.
Yes.
Thank you, Nathan.
Yo, bro, I beg, make you give me correct shock absorber. Or make I do video concept, then take the Gaussian P for the engine show you.
Hey, yawa humache. Every morning you the tear calls, they browse. Actually, something they there.
Hey, Tago, the way town make hot. I grow best one if you no po. If it be you where you get Vodafone 1 Ghana promo them out. 20 minutes talk time to call all networks. Where you start get data and 1 gig from 5 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. Bye. Anka you go do pass me safe, Anka. You dial *530# make we enjoy. You go fit subscribe as many times as you want.
Yes, plantain chips.
Yo, sweet Ama, take this by Vodafone 1 Ghana bundle. Moku vibe plus video calls and taste. You catch the vibe early morning, 5 a.m. sharp.
Vodafone, further together.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
At the British Council, we know that our experiences in life are what shape us. The things we see, the places we go, the people we meet all make an impact on the future we create. Change is driven by people with dreams bigger than themselves. The chance to study abroad is the chance to make an impact, not just on your own life, but on the lives of the people you left back home. When you experience the world beyond borders, you can discover what's possible for the future you envision. When you set off to further your education abroad, you can return empowered and ready to put your plan for change in motion. Great experiences await when you study in diverse countries like the UK. You could make an impact on your entire community because you took the chance to own your future. It starts with an IELTS test from the British Council. Visit our website today and discover a world of opportunity.
Someone smells great here. And fresh, my love. I wish I could stay in the shower all day. I know, right? Nothing beats a bath with geisha soap. It smells so good, it lasts long, and it's enriched with natural ingredients that work wonders for my skin.
And it now comes with a fresh new look, giving us even more reasons to love our geisha bar.
New and improved geisha soap. Great new look, better fragrance, same natural ingredients, still all last time. This advert is FDA approved.
Be strong and last long. Like geisha.
Provident Insurance. Hooray! Provident Insurance is 40 years. Provident Insurance welcomes you to a new year. Remember to insure your new car or renew your existing motor insurance policy from now to the 31st of March and get free gifts such as fuel coupons and several other branded Provident souvenirs. Rush for insurance cover now. Terms and conditions apply.
Provident Insurance, your future happy days.
With Provident, man, you are covered.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Mr. Chicky, where your boy, yay. Chicky, where your boy, yay. About was some boat, no demons a Ghana, sick of footsie. Bibini Kabesha, what to be say, yo. Near me get there, English and confet, coaching, will you not tell what I see? So, about that. Where are they share? Can I miss yes, my woman, friends who will be your songs to wait here. And you can, about Sima, what for your identity? What? Belgium, I know Mama Mika, Nagana Maria, Moya Sha, the minima, say you're to Nabasa. I want me to cry, Mitricasa, Massa, where you would car, or ban or your will, and then trouble me car, and who just also forget. I didn't know book, must move to Kuchuku, Ubia, Wakase, Super, a day here, cool. Be and told him Super Baka, who are you? Talk, Messia, the girl Boko, Tisa, Kosia, Akosia, and what year now, oh, Diet, Mamma phone step right here. Me three quiet, number quiet. Nina, one away. Middle, one away. Woo! I thought you were for me. So tell me where we went. I thought you were for me. So tell me where we went. I thought you were for me. See them, man.
10 minutes past 8, Citi Breakfast Show. We're going to get into the judgment in the case that had been sent to a high court between Anas Arimaya Anas and Kennedy Japan. Court ruled in favor of the defendant in this matter. And Richard has been reading through. He's going to go through for us what the implications are, what the judge actually said.
But before we get into that, with the British Council's rule to IELTS, you get all the material you need to get your required IELTS score. The online course is valued at $80, and it includes more than 300 interactive activities, 13 advice and tutorial videos, and 40 practice tests. Register today.
All right.
Now, the Heritage Christian college is saying that you need to study in their BSc nursing degree program today. The program is accredited by GTech and the Nursing and Midwifery Council, and you learn in their ultramodern and well-equipped skills lab. You can use that for practicals. They also give you hands-on training for the job market through technology-driven teaching and learning, coupled with entrepreneurial training, financial support, and personal development. Call them on 0547 77731 or 0202298399 or visit their website hcuc.edu.gh. Heritage Christian College and University training compassionate entrepreneurial leaders.
All right, so back to the case. So Anas, Arimaya Anas, sent Kennedy Japan to court on 18th June, seeking redress in the form of monetary damages, 25 million cedis, for the offense of libel, allegedly committed against him by the defendant, in this case, Kennedy Japan. And in the introduction, the judge identifies Anas, or the judge states Anas identifies himself as an internationally acclaimed investigative journalist with several local and international awards, and the defendant as a member of parliament for Asin Central in honor of City. First comment, the judge sort of raises the profile of the case in his introductions, where he says that there is no doubt that this is a judgment on a mammoth case. And he says it is so by reason, firstly, of the personalities involved and the nature of the issues around which the case revolves, and by reason of the expected wide reach of the accusations of the defendant and the responses by the plaintiff resulting in the suit, thanks to modern media and communication. This is regular for such introductions to be given in judgment.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, you see judges do this, basically to give the reader an idea of what the weight of issues they are going to be deciding, especially given the profile of the people involved. Because the question of defamation, largely, the weight of the persons involved is also a very serious matter to consider. What is the weight of the Honorable Kennedy Japan? Is a lawmaker, has served as a member of parliament for the past 20-something years or close to that. He's a businessman who is internationally and locally respected, depending on where you stand. And then he wants to be president. Who is Anas Arimaya Anas? Anas is a respected, internationally acclaimed, investigative journalist, celebrated locally and internationally, worked with BBC, CNN, and many of these international. Exactly. So if you look at the profile of these two, the profiles of these two people, you are talking about people who have established something for themselves and their communities. And so the judge was right in coming to that. So what was
Anas's case?
Okay, so Anas went to court seeking damages for what he said was publications that were made by Kennedy Japan on his network, Netu and related or allied, broadcast houses, and then a number of other local stations which he thought had damaged his reputation, essentially defamed him, and that the court should look into the matter and reach a conclusion. And that basically was this case. And it was all about the Who Watches the Watchman, publication by Kennedy Japan and his media house, and then subsequent interviews that he had granted on a number of local stations.
So the specific words used by the MP against him were actually listed
exactly
in the case.
In fact, these were words that Anas himself, in his action before the court, had actually extracted from what Kennedy Japan had said at various times on various platforms.
So we have from Roman 1 to Roman XXX. That's 30.
30.
So 30 specific statements that he believes defamed him.
Yeah.
So that was Anas's case. Now, what was the case of the defendant?
So in simple terms, the defendant, in this case Kennedy Japan, basically said, look, yes, I said those things. And having said them, I said them because they were true, or that I had justification for saying them. So if you look at defamation, there are two things. If you make a statement and somebody says that you have defamed the person, there are two broad things generally that you can use as a defense. You are saying the matter because it was true, or that there's justification for saying it.
That was his defense. What were the issues that the parties settled on for determination.
Okay, so that's more broad. If you look at it, a number of issues have been raised by the judge. And of course, when they join the issues, which really are the issues that the judge would have to decide upon, there are a number of them. But let me basically state that, look, there are elements to a case concerning defamation. When someone says that you have defamed him, the court requires you to do a number of things. In Ghana, the elements are largely 4. In other words, there are 4 things that you must prove. And the judge references that in his judgment. First of all, you have to prove that the words were capable of defaming you. In other words, what Kwame said defamed you. Secondly, you must also prove that the words were actually defamatory. You understand? So capability to defame and were actually defamatory. So
those are 2 different things.
2 different things. Those are the second element. And then also the words refer to the claimant. In other words, you, the person initiating the action, do the words refer to you?
So let's use an example. If you come on there and say, Bernard Avle, Emolobo, your long face, is that what it is?
But in this case, it's not strictly speaking.
I'm using that as an example.
I'm describing you. So, let's use a more realistic. Let's say that
you say you call me a terrorist.
Terrorist. Yeah, that's right.
So you are saying that the first thing is that were those words defamatory?
Yeah, capable of defamation.
Then that's we have to. So that's calling somebody a terrorist. Is it possible for that to be defamatory?
Exactly.
So that's the first point. And what's the second one?
The second one is whether they were actually defamatory.
I see. So that then is in the context of the usage against me.
Exactly.
Then what's the third point?
The third one is whether they refer to you, the person who is saying that you have been defamed.
So it's a different Aloski you are referring to.
It could well be. But you see, sometimes it's much more nuanced like that than that.
And what's the fourth one?
The fourth one is whether the words were published by the defendant to at least one person other than the plaintiff.
So those are the 4 things.
So let me just explain the last one. The last element is where you and I are in a room and I say something defamatory to you. Strictly speaking, is not defamatory because
only 2 of us said it.
Exactly. But where I tell
so if you go on air, then publish in the newspaper, write it on Facebook, then you are defaming me.
Exactly, because the world is now our
So
world.
there are 4 layers to this defamatory issue.
So
Wonderful.
the question is whether in all the circumstances of this case, Anas has been able to satisfy all these requirements. Now, if all of these things are established, all that the other side would need to prove is that, well, yes, I said the words, they were about Anas, they were capable of defamation, but I had justification or for saying them, or that what I said was true. So those are the 2 key things.
But he also has something they call additional issues, where he says the following additional issues filed by the defendant were equally adopted, whether the words or comments uttered by the defendant, mainly in local dialect Twi, about the conduct of the plaintiff are true and factual, and whether or not the comments or words uttered by the defendant, mainly in Twi, are justified and fair. So it's almost like this is the second layer that the defendant brought in. And I'm sure you can deal with that at the end. Now, there's something they call written addresses. What is that?
Okay, so in some cases, instead of, and of course our courts have, through the rules, have adopted that process. It's largely practiced in jurisdictions like UK, for instance, where they invite the 2 sides to submit written, let me call it, I wouldn't refer to it as an address, submissions. So Bernard will submit that, okay, this is my case, these are my arguments, these are my views on the matter, this is my conclusion on the matter, and that the court should take this view. Akoto would also submit and say that, look, this is my point, this is my justification for saying the things that I've said, and then come to a conclusion. Instead of going to court and then making arguments back and forth.
You write.
Yeah, you write.
So the judge has the 2 in front of him. That's what is called written. Remember the Supreme Court case for the elections. That's what Chachu and Co were talking about, the addresses.
The addresses, yeah.
Now, so all of this has in the case. Now, what does the judge mean by approach?
Approach. So, normally...
Sorry, I'm taking you to...
Okay, normally...
You are earning your degree.
You state... So what is the case of the claimant or the plaintiff? What is the case of the defendant? And then what is the issues that you have adopted to deal with? And then you come to the various approaches that are used by the courts to deal with a particular matter. Because in some cases you were using customary law, which is part of our statute, which is part of our laws. You can use customary laws to deal with a matter dealing with defamation, as the judge rightly stated in his judgment. Or you can rely on the traditional system, using the court system as in statute and related case law, and then also what tort law principles bring about to deal with the
Which
matter.
is why he came to something he calls the choice of law.
Exactly.
And then he talks about the legal regimes for the protection of reputation of people.
For person, yeah.
Which is customary law and common law.
Common
and
law.
then he sort of, so he's basically saying what law I'm going to use.
Yeah.
So this is a very scientific process.
Exactly. And in the judgment, he said that he was not going to use common, what do you call it? The other one, which is the customary law, because Kennedy is a Christian and Anas is a Muslim. Okay. So there's a conflict of laws, and I'm using the term loosely. Okay. So instead of using common law, customary law, he will use common law because that will be applicable to the two of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even read that part. And then he speaks about the standard and burden of proof, which you've explained.
Yeah.
That in this case, the person making the claim has to show. Okay, long story short. So Anas says he has been defamed.
Yeah.
By the things Mr. Kennedy said, and listed 30 things. Good. So I thought the case would simply be Kennedy didn't infame you. That's the end of story. Why does the judge seem to be talking about Anas as a terrorist or whatever? He said investigation. Is that not again, I was like, well, I've taken a matter to court that someone has defamed me. Is that he has defamed me or not? Do such cases allow the judge to now go beyond whether I am right or wrong to now describe me, the plaintiff, as something? Do you get my point?
Okay, so law students generally would say that some things said by judges in passing are, strictly speaking, arbiter. You understand?
There's no issue.
Exactly. They do not go to the heart, or they do not establish a principle based on which the judge is reaching a particular conclusion. So you heard in the often quoted phrase, loot, share, and loot what? Create, loot, and share. It wasn't, strictly speaking, a principle established in the judgment, but it's been adopted and it's been bastardized. It's been used repeatedly against some individuals in this country because the judge used it in court. So in the same case, dealing with the matter, the judge uses that description and ascribes that to Anas to say that this is the brand of journalism that he's been doing over the years, based on everything that was put before him to adjudicate upon.
All right. So what was the judge's conclusion? What was his judgment?
Okay, so let me first of all simplify it. As I said to you earlier, there are 4 elements that
have to be
proved in the case.
Is the statement
it should actually be 5.
Okay.
Yeah, it should actually be 5, but in the characterization, he listed only 4.
Is it defamatory?
The words must be capable of defamation. The words must be defamatory. The words refer to the claimant, and the words were published by the defendant to at least one person other than the plaintiff. And then also there must be harm. In other words, you are saying that as a result of everything that had been done, the damage to you is that you have lost money, you have lost business, or that people no longer respect you in your society or community, whatever you claim to be. Now, to summarize, in all the elements we are talking about, the judge found that yes, the words that were used at various times on various platforms were capable of defaming the plaintiff.
Point one, Anas is right.
Exactly. The second one, which is whether the words were actually defamatory. He established that yes, the requirement is satisfied. Whether the words refer to the claimant. He says that yes, the words refer to the claimant. And then whether the words were actually published by the defendant. Yes, the words were published by the defendant. However...
So it means Anas is leading here.
Yeah, you see?
That's how it appears.
That's how it appears. So I gave you some caveat earlier. And in his own judgment, he referenced that you can satisfy all the requirements, but where the person who made the statement has either a justification or was telling the truth, then there will be no defamation. In which case, the court found, as established by the judge, that yes, all these elements are satisfied. But based on the evidence that was adduced before him, the Honorable Kennedy Ejapong was telling the truth because he based his deductions or his assessment on a critical tape that
which means that the defendant also submitted some evidence of what was the basis of what he said. So the judge was minded to listen to that.
Exactly. And then came to the conclusion that all elements satisfied, but there was justification for what the gentleman or the Honorable Kennedy Ejapong said.
That's interesting. So point A, point B, point C, point D, all in Anas's favor. But still, okay, so then that means what did Kennedy actually give to the court? That's then the next question, right?
Okay, so that leads me to a 2008 matter. And if you go towards the 50s...
page something.
Yeah,
I
of
think
the
56-ish.
judgment. Yeah, 55, 56, thereabout. There was this case involving a number of gentlemen who were accused of having stolen close to $1.9 million US. One of the folks in there is named as One Babatunde. And then also we're told that they operated as an international criminal gang, according to the judgment and the claims that were made. And the judge found, as a matter of fact, that some of these things were established. And according to the evidence before the court, it was suggested that in the course of the investigations, and when Anas and Code had finished their work, instead of going public to publish details of the matter, and then also to help the police to prosecute the matter, the claim was made that Anas had confessed to receiving $100,000 from this Babatunde guy. And because of that receipt of money, the case eventually was compromised. In other words, the state could not prosecute the case successfully in court. The court became frustrated and dismissed the matter for want of prosecution. So the claim is made that Anas and his people had, for some reason, frustrated the state into dismissing a matter which ought to have been prosecuted in line with Anas's own principle that he would investigate, he will find the people responsible, and those people will be prosecuted before a law court. And that to the extent that he was allegedly given $100,000, he frustrated the case and eventually
So this
could not be
was,
prosecuted.
all of these things you are saying was contained in the tape that the defendant submitted to the court.
Exactly.
Which the court admitted. And which the court used to then conclude that even though all the things that had been said were defamatory and potentially defamatory, that on the basis of that tape, it's true that the guy is, because the guy listed 30 things that he was describing.
Yes, which were said at various times and on various platforms.
So did that one tape satisfy all the... You get me? Because Anas is saying that you've called me names, you've done this, you called me a criminal. Like, he listed a lot of things. Now, the defendant submits a tape, and I'm not asking to retry the case, I'm just trying to think aloud. Submits a tape that gives some sort of evidence of one instance where something happens. So how does the judge then sort of conclude on the basis of that tape that then vitiates the fact of defamation? Because the man used different words at different times.
Yeah.
Okay. So are we saying that that example that the defendant submitted was all encompassing and was nuanced enough to justify the use of those words at all those various times against one person?
Okay, let me just say that there were also allegations of murder made against Anas. And that would not respond to the specific claim that he engaged in a type of journalism that investigate people, that was involved in entrapment. And then when the video evidence is played back to you and you were willing to give money, then they will take your side of the alleged offenses out of what is eventually, or what was eventually published to the public. So the specific matter of murder would not be dealt with by that. But if you put everything together, what is Anas into? The case is that he will go and investigate allegations of wrongdoing. Ministers taking bribes, government officials taking bribes, foreign leaders taking bribes, or our own people taking bribes. So in the case of, say, Nyantechi, for instance, what happened? We were told that the former GFA president went to Dubai to meet some sheikhs. In the process, he had said that he was going to allow access to the presidency and for some contracts and all kinds of things to be done, and that he had the influence to do that. So what was the price for it? Give me something. When I come back, I will sort out the people at the presidency, including the president or his vice, and then you would have smooth sailing, process through to making sure that your interest in Ghana is protected. So that was what happened in the Nyantechi case. Nyantechi eventually resigned or was thrown out by FIFA and then also our own GFA. There were attempts to prosecute him. I don't know where that matter is now, because ANAS's principle is that I'll find you out, I'll report you to the police, and you'll be prosecuted. Now, so many other things like that were done. For instance, in the cases of the judges were caught on tape, taking goats, taking yam, taking money. And eventually the state set up a committee to deal with them. All of them were removed from office. So if you look at it, Kennedy Ejapong basically said that, look, in all of these cases, ANAS somewhat set up these individuals. He went to them, offered them money, they took the money, he filmed it, came back home, edited what he had recorded, went back to some of them and showed it to them that, okay, I caught you on tape taking money. I'm going to publish it. Are you minded to do something about it? That's the man's claim. Okay, where the person agrees and pays money, he will delete that person's, what's the name?
Component of
compromising evidence, incriminating evidence from what is eventually published. And that in all the circumstances of this case, ANAS was not, strictly speaking, doing journalism, but was using his influence and power to set people up and use that to get money out of them. So the judge comes to the conclusion that based on ANAS's own conversation with the state prosecutor, which concerned a case which I referenced earlier in 2008 in the prosecutor's office, in which we are told, according to the evidence, again, it's not my own conclusion, that ANAS had confessed to receiving $100,000 out of this case that was something close to $1.9 million. It was established then for Kennedy Ejapong to go out and say what he said based on the evidence that came before.
I understand that, but you're not the judge's spokesperson. I just feel like there's still a big jump from there to because the specific words used against ANAS included that of a murderer. So unless you're saying that the judge says when you put everything together.
Okay, so that's why I isolated the murder one. Yes. Because in the murder case, the judge explained that yes, those will not be dealt with by that particular evidence.
I wanted to do with that.
But that ANAS had suggested that it was the actions of Kennedy Ejapong that led to the death of Ahmed Suale. Or in other words, ANAS had called Kennedy Ejapong the person who murdered or was responsible for them. So then the Honorable Kennedy Ejapong also goes out to say that, look, no, I didn't do that. You are responsible for this. You killed the person because of A, B, and C. So then, if you look at all of it, and because Honorable Kennedy Ejapong,
so it's like a tit for tat.
Yeah.
So you're saying that on a lot of the various things that were said, the judge, listening to Kennedy's tape in evidence, agrees that this is probably true. On the issue of murder, as in calling ANAS a murderer, the tape doesn't deal with that. But you're saying that Mr. Ejapong said it almost like in retaliation to ANAS's accusation. So it's like they are trading insults. Do you understand? So he's saying that on that point, you can't necessarily call it defamation. All right. I still have a problem with that, but let's move on. So then the judge then says, okay, fine. All four preconditions have been satisfied, but the main point is that the context in which the man said it and the evidence he submits justifies his saying. Good. But at what point did he now start describing ANAS as an investigative terrorist? Was it in analyzing the tape?
Okay. Yeah. So that served as the major plank in the case of the defense. In this case, the Honorable Kennedy Ejapong. That look, I spoke the truth because ANAS himself had confessed to it on tape. So the truth is established, or that there was justification in making fair comments and reasonable deductions out of what he himself had said. But the question of the Nyantechi and related cases were not the only ones there. I also spoke about the President of the Republic, who we are told in this judgment was at some point targeted by Anas, and then also the Prime Minister of La Côte d'Ivoire. And if you go into the judgment, we're told that there was a plot hatched by Anas and his team to somewhat implicate the President of the Republic and then also the Prime Minister of La Côte d'Ivoire in their investigations, in which case they would have come out with the video evidence embarrassing the two of them or incriminating them. And on the basis of that, the judge came to some conclusions about their type of journalism, how they did it, and how they used that to exact political influence and power and use and monetize that to their advantage. That was the
Just
judge's
a quick
conclusion.
question. Did this case, you said there were addresses. Was there cross-examination in these cases?
Yes, there was.
On both sides?
Yeah.
I see. Was that captured in the judgment?
Aspects of it were captured, yeah. Relevant aspects of it, it would seem, in the view of the judge.
So the judge concluded that even though the statements made by Mr. Japon could have been defamatory, because of the fact that he had justification for saying the things he said. Based
Justification and not truth, yeah.
Yes. And the truth in terms of the tape that has been provided, Anas cannot win the claim.
Okay, so let me just read a part of the judgment. If you go to page 58, permit me to quote that if you will. I'll quote from page 57 actually.
Okay.
As I have expatiated above, the plaintiff confessed to the crime of bribery and corruption. When the circumstances of the case are considered, including meetings with Mubarak and Babatunde to thwart the trial, the receipt by the plaintiff of a bribe of $100,000, the bribery of the prosecutor with $5,000, and the then Director General of CID of the Ghana Police Service with $75,000. I was left with no doubt that the strategy of the plaintiff and the prosecutor resulted in the failure in the prosecution of the criminal case. The case of Hafiz and Babatunde confirms the claim of the defendant that the plaintiff is a blackmailer, an extortionist, corrupt, and a criminal. On this point, Hafiz said on television that the plaintiff failed to show the video on them because he had paid him a bribe of $50,000. The evidence from the plaintiff's own mouth is that Babatunde bought him with $100,000. Lo and behold, the tapes on the suspects were never shown to the public by the plaintiff. I considered it established that the plaintiff blackmails people he desires to destroy, probably his enemies, or the enemies of his friends or partners, or persons loaded with cash, whether legitimate or illegitimate, as the suspects in the gold scam case, by catching them on tape. The tape is then shown to them. The tape on those who pay up are shelved, but those who refuse are not able to pay are held. No, so basically, ones held to the full glare of the public for reputational damage. Such conduct, and I'm still quoting, is legally and morally wrong. It is evil. Based on the evidence, defendant was justified in calling plaintiff evil, criminal, corrupt, blackmailer, and extortionist. Since the contents of Exhibit KA01 has been established to be true and factual, all comments made by the defendant based in relation to it is both justified and fair.
And then he deals with exhibits 2, 3, and 4 later on. So it means that the defendant submitted a number of exhibits, and then it was in the exhibit 2 that the president matter comes in.
Yeah.
And then there's also exhibit 3 and 4, which deals with other matters.
No, it's actually exhibit 4, which deals with the matter of the president and the prime minister. In fact, let me quote the relevant portion for our listeners, if you would. No, I just want to go to the specific matters that he raised in that matter. So if you go to page 60, He says that it should be understood that as officers caught by plaintiff in his investigation, he says it should be understood that as officers caught by the plaintiff in his investigations have lost their jobs, an entrapped president may be compelled to resign out of shame or public pressure. That means the plaintiff, through his investigative ethics or antics, can cause the removal of a president and thereby append the mandate given him at the elections. That is not investigative journalism. It is investigative terrorism. It is exercise of indirect political power under the cloak of journalism. The serious aspect is that political enemies of the president who could not stand him at an election may hire the plaintiff to entrap him to undermine his presidency.
Okay.
Enemies of a state can also hire him just to destroy the political hierarchy.
All right.
And then if you go in, he talks about whether they were,
So then
was
on
sponsored
page
by
62, he then concludes that based on evidence KAO 1, 2, 3, and 4, the statements by the defendant were justified and could not have defamed the plaintiff. And he uses the moniker of fair comment.
Yeah.
Fair comments. You said that when you are trying to decide whether somebody's statement is defamatory, it could be fair comment was one.
Yeah, so there's justification and truth. By justification, you can break it down into a number of...
Yeah. I wanted to just ask you that, in our work, we usually reference the British law, common English law, Commonwealth, whatever.
Yeah, common law.
There's a lot of conversations about using subterfuge or undercover journalism, right? And we know that there have been cases in the UK, for example, where Guardian 2007, the UK Press and Complaints Commission said the use of subterfuge in journalism was legitimate. In fact, it quotes, there is a legitimate place for the use of subterfuge when there are grounds in the public interest to use it, and it is not possible to obtain information through other means. Right? I'm wondering whether and again, I don't know whether there were cross-examinations in court and whether Anas was sort of given the chance to defend his style, or whether this case did not include that. Because what I'm trying to say that when you talk about the approach he uses, which they use the 4 main cases to sort of discuss, there are people who strongly believe that if it's in the public interest, you can use subterfuge or undercover means to get in. So, for example, that somebody, let me give you a very bad example. So, that somebody is into a certain crime, which he does on a regular basis. And then you sort of bait the person whose modus operandi is that form of crime. And the person, true to their nature, sort of falls into that trap. And then you say in the public interest that this guy has been doing this all the time. And when I give this, when I sort of offered or solicited, he responded. And therefore, it proves that he does it. All right. I'm not sure whether that means subterfuge and whether the remit of this case brought that in, or because this was not Anas really on trial. Because if this had been a case where somebody had taken Anas's method to court, and then he had then brought the subterfuge thing in, then that was the case.
So the lawyers say you distinguish.
Okay.
The issue at trial was not about the method and whether it was appropriate. The claim of Kennedy Ejapong was that, yes, Anas has been catching people, but the fact as he established them, based on the evidence he had collected, was that where Anas catches you stealing money and records you, he comes back to you and shows you tape of you stealing money. And then he says that, okay, I want to go and publish this to the public. Or there's some negotiation as to exclude you from what he would eventually show.
So the judge's problem is not that he's even caught you. So if he catches you and he publishes.
Yeah, there's no problem with it.
So then this doesn't arise necessarily here. Because his point in the video use is about the going back to now discuss and negotiate and decide whether to then play or not.
Exactly.
So so I need to establish this point for the point that investigative journalism is not necessarily
on trial.
That's why the case is trying to separate between investigative journalism and what the judge is now coining. Now, this is seminal because if I don't know if there'll be an appeal, and I think we can discuss, but it looks like a very important case because if this judgment stands, it would seem as if a lot of other cases will rest upon it. And then also, I was going to ask what this means for our work, but I think you've distinguished between the way he collects the evidence and then how he treats it afterwards.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
So that's what the issue was about.
I need to bring in because a lot of journalists are concerned about what this means for investigative journalism.
Let me, before Godfrey comes in, let me just mention an important case. Now, if you go to a decision of our Supreme Court and law students...
I'm sorry, this is long, but we needed to go in.
Should take this particular case very seriously, and even ordinary citizens of the Republic. The case is known as Avle Kubaji.
And Mensa...
Exactly.
Where can I find it?
In fact, if you key it into the system,
it's a very popular case.
It's a very popular case. A very recent.
Kubaji. The Kubaji Kubaji.
Yeah, Avle.
Raphel.
Avle Kubaji.
Yeah.
Kubaji is K-U-B.
Yeah. No, it's actually C-U-B-A-G.
This Kubaji is C-U-B-A.
Yeah, I think maybe the person.
Avle Kubaji versus who?
It's Mensa something.
You have Michael Yeboah Asare.
Yes,
yeah.
Mensa Yeboah Asare.
KJC Company Limited and Assemblies of God Church.
Oh, okay.
Now, in this particular case, this is arguably the leading authority now.
864 something. Okay.
In this particular case, what was the issue? Someone secretly recorded another person in a conversation they had over the phone.
Akufu Atuguba Adinyara Doche Bagdegbe Akutobanfo. It's a big one.
It's a very big case. It's a huge case, yes.
And it was actually the judgment was written by Puaman JSC.
Yes. Okay, admissibility, evidence obtained in contravention of human rights, privacy, and head note and holding. This was a matter referred to in the court for the interpretation of the right of privacy as provided in the Constitution in relation to admissibility of evidence in form of secretly recorded telephone conversations. The court determined whether the secret recording the defendant's right to privacy. The court held that the recording interfered with the defendant's right beyond what he had consented. This is because defendant opted for a means of communication that did not record his speech in a permanent form. The court also determined the admissibility of the evidence since it was obtained in violation of human rights. The court noted that Ghana does not contain a provision that provides for circumstances in which a court is required to exclude such evidence. The court was in favor of the discretionary rule approach that takes into account policy considerations when enforcing rights by excluding evidence. It was held that admission of such evidence would undermine the integrity of court proceedings and bring disrepute to the administration of justice and should be excluded. Accordingly, the court gave an order to the same effect.
Okay, so let me just give a quick narration around that and some comment, then Godfrey will come in. You see, the case was about someone who secretly recorded another person. They were fighting over a land. And then the person who recorded the thing secretly subsequently went to court and sought to use what he had recorded to prove that the guy's claim to the land was false. Now, it came for the judge to decide whether or not to admit that evidence. It raised a constitutional matter, and courts down there, when it comes to interpretation of the Constitution, don't have the power to interpret the Constitution.
You have to take it up to
so you need to make a referral to the Supreme Court. So he referred the matter to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court did a very solid job by deconstructing our laws and reached the conclusion that where, for instance, you secretly record someone and you did it in the public interest as to expose a criminal activity.
That is accepted.
Someone is murdering somebody secretly.
Someone is planning to kidnap somebody.
Exactly.
You record it secretly. That one is okay.
In that case, the state can rely on it and prosecute the person because it's in the public interest to prevent crime.
But if you are fighting over land.
But where you are fighting over land, and these are, personal matters, and the public interest is not necessarily at stake. You cannot use subterfuge.
So it means this issue of subterfuge is already dealt with.
It's dealt with.
It's not a new thing.
No.
So, and this judge in Ana's case is saying that the style. So in fact, you are right. He didn't even deal with the style of collecting evidence.
Yeah, because
it's already determined. He dealt with how he uses it.
Exactly.
After, again, there's a school of thought, and I'll bring you in that. Yes, in the if you look at the full case, the judge's reasoning we can understand, but there's a feeling that because of what Anas has done, to the judiciary, what he has done to politicians, he has done to sports, he has done to football. A lot of people feel he's an enemy. I think I heard somebody in parliament even saying that, why did Ghana allow Nyantechi to go down? We should have protected him. So the system is against him. So there's a feeling that they were always going to get back at him. And so, indeed, they feel like, of course, some people feel like Kennedy Japan himself, some of the things he said about Meswale and the things he did, and the guys that he rather should be in the dock. So there's a feeling, and I'm not necessarily going into the merits of the case now, I'm talking about the issues around the case, that the system is fighting Anas back because of that. And I don't know if it's even fair to use this case as that, but there's that feeling among some people that they are fighting Anas back because he tried to destroy the judiciary in their view. He tried to destroy football. He tries to destroy politics, and to even dare to even bring a case in which the president could be involved. But meanwhile, in US, we know that what's his name?
Julian Assange?
No. The seminal case, Watergate scandal, right?
Nixon.
Yes. So there's
Bernstein and
Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward. Seminal case, how a whole presidency was brought down by journalism.
Yeah.
And when you go to the US journalism, that is what has defined. I mean, I met Bob Woodward and I was in awe, just standing by the man. Great guy. He still writes. Carl Benson is also alive, right? So I'm just coming to the political context of this point that should we say, okay, yes, in this case, Anas has been found out because there was a couple of examples that the defendant brought that the judge relied on to say that your claim of defamation is not true because actually what the man said is true. And then move on to then say that it means that Anas has no credibility anymore and that everything else is done. We should treat from the lens of, because I think it provided about 4 exhibits to show his modus operandi. And Anas has done over 100 work, from spirit child to all kinds of things. Albinos, all kinds of things. So are we, and this question is for we, the media right now. So where does this leave Anas? Looking at all the political conversations we are having and the fact that he goaded a very strong person's ox. And it doesn't seem as if some of the things that he has exposed has been acted upon. All right. Where are you on this?
Well, I think that it leaves us where investigative journalism has always left the rest of the world. In very, very divided opinions on what it is, how it should be carried out, and the outcomes of investigative journalism, what should be done with it. And there will be more of this. I think for us in Ghana, this is pretty significant because we don't have too much investigative journalism in Ghana. Anas is considered as the man when it comes to it and has pretty much defined how it is done here, alongside, of course, what Manasseh has been doing, although they have 2 very different styles. Manasseh prefers the very systematic use of public documentation. And
he actually published a book last week.
Yes.
On this.
So Manasseh has quite a different style to what happens. But I think that it will go to the deepening of investigative journalism, both the court's ruling, because what will happen is journalism in Ghana, and by this I mean the Ghana Journalist Association, because I checked something which I found interesting. The Ghana Journalist Association does not have rules around investigative journalism.
You've tried to find out.
It has like a single line. It does not have a framework for it. If you go to other jurisdictions, there are quite significant outlines, structures for what you can do. If you go to the UK, you have IPSO and IFPOM who will check you on different things. You have to go through different rules and regulations.
So here it's still up in the air.
It's still up in the air as to what constitutes investigative journalism. And that perhaps this might be an opportunity for the GJA to step in and say, this is what will come in. Also interesting is how the judiciary perceives this, as we have seen from this particular judge. Another judge might also see it differently in another case. Okay, so Anas himself might also sit back and say, okay, in the jurisdiction that I work, if this is how it is perceived, perhaps do I need to fine-tune how I go about this? You understand? So would that change how he operates? You understand? So I just think that this leaves us where it leaves the rest of the world when it comes to investigative journalism. There are people who have strong feelings about what Anas does, basically because of how it ends up. Okay.
Yeah, but the other point is that people feel like Kennedy, this case moved from different courts. It's sort of the system contrived And again, I'm trying hard not to. I've listened to the judgment and read it, and I am not qualified to necessarily say I disagree.
Yes.
But I'm just saying that if you look at the circumstances around how even the case finally got into this court, you just understand what I'm saying. There's a feeling that the system was out to get. And I mean, look at the example you gave of a president. I mean, are you telling me that if a president does wrong, right? Are you saying that because he's a president, he shouldn't resign? Just so to even use that in the discussion of Exhibit 4, I find it a bit problematic because, Kai, for me, I think we should be looking for the truth. If a president is involved in something wrong, and an investigative journalist has the evidence, he should publish it. The only problem is that there has to be, again, the journalist, as they say, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. It should not be something he's using for trade. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
But you see, we need to separate. You see, sometimes the nuance is where the issue is. We need to be able to separate the fact that the work of investigative journalism is very crucial to maintaining a healthy democracy.
Yeah.
Yes, the journalist who does that work must not treat that work for pecuniary purposes. All right? But to sort of say that if that work is allowed, it can lead to a government or a president resigning, I think is orbital, as Kai said. I think the main issue is when he obtains the evidence in the public interest, does he use it in the public interest or use it for personal gain?
That one, the principle.
Yes, but I'm saying that, you see, because in our society, people are black and white, and we really don't put forward nuance. I really want us to establish the nuance here that, look, the kind of thing Anas does is important for where we are. How he does it and manages it after he gets the evidence is also something we should look at, because that then means that people who have the influence can then use it and abuse it. All right? But we also need to look at the conduct of the person who is being accused and the way he has also gone about his activities. Okay? And for again,
and whether you are able to get information in a regular manner.
A judge can only do what is in front of him. But but to the extent that he went beyond to make general statements about the way Anas does business. Because for example, was there even a reprimand for the defendant because you said all the 4 things the guy said. Yes, because of the evidence he provided were true. But there are different, of course, the case was not before him, but there are different things this person does and says regularly, which if the judge, seeing the seminality of the case, could have also commented on to say, look, electronic media, social media era, public commentary, guarded statements. Do you understand? Judges have liberty to add all those nuances to let everybody be on guard. But it seems to me as if he went on Anas and left the other guy.
Which other guy?
Kennedy.
No, you see.
I'm talking about, because you see, Sky, I feel like you are making a judgment of a case, but you're also now making commentary around the way our society functions. Beyond simply, and I think judges have liberty to do that. For example, during the Supreme Court case, Atukuba would come up before he even would read the judgment and say, look, we are in a democracy, we have a challenge. Don't go on air and be talking certain things to just that. So you can make other comments. You are at liberty to do that within the context of the introduction and the seminality of the case. Just so he can then also say, look, we also need to have guarded commentary. But he didn't do that. Okay, and I'm saying that skews it. I have no problem with what he's read. He can only do what is in front of him. But if he takes the liberty to now describe the work of Anas in the way he does, I think, to be fair, I mean, you cannot tell me that that's the only problem here in the country.
No, it is not. But see, I understand you, but I also understand the judge's perspective in the sense that perhaps Sky can correct me on this. He's sitting down as a judge, but he's also a member of society. So in doing this, like you said, they are allowed to express a personal opinion. And in his personal opinion, which he has added to the commentary that he is given, he feels that the processes therein are problematic, where he feels there's a certain level of entrapment, where free will is imputed upon a bit, where other avenues come in, okay, and feels there aren't enough rules, which is why I made the point that the best way to go about this is if our society had a clear understanding. Now, the way our investigative journalism space is designed at the moment. Okay, if this were a case, for instance, in a more established jurisdiction where they have rules, like in the US, in the UK, or some of the Scandinavian jurisdictions, you would realize that these cases happen all the time, but the outcomes would be a bit
more far-reaching. Because, for example, you even have like the admission of bribery.
And hold on, I'm coming.
CID and things. It's related to consequential.
And it's not just that, it's just also that the rules of this are more clearly established. Okay, so the reason why I'm saying this is the judge feels that, okay, this person does A, B, C, D, I don't like it. And our society is built up in way A, B, C, D. And based on that, this person's work. Now, we also know that the work is important. Okay. All I'm saying is, if the rules were a bit more clearly established, the judge himself, because it will be part of something that is available to him, would know that, okay, per how this is carried out in Ghana, you can do A, B, C, D, E to do this. This is done this. Now, Anas, in also knowing the rules, would operate perhaps within those or stretch it a bit to get whatever he needs to get. But there is still a framework to work within for everybody to see where they stand. At the moment, we do not have that here.
So let me come back to the points Sky made to sort of conclude for the public. So Sky is saying that based on what we know about subterfuge and collecting information, that matter is not under trial.
No, it wasn't.
So the analysis of Anas in this case is about what he does after the fact.
Yeah, after the collection of the evidence.
Good. Using the 4 pieces of evidence given. Fair enough. And then we're also saying that the commentary of the judge before the case, he recognizes the seminal nature of the case and then coins a phrase, investigative terrorism. My disappointment is that, you see, you are saying these are personal views, but once a judge has made those comments, in your case law, you can also use it and make reference to it going forward. Do you understand me? So
it's not of a binding authority.
No, but I'm saying that.
So you have to distill. So in all cases, what is important is the principle. What is most important? Let me qualify it. What is most important is the principle established in a case. Not the side commentary that a judge makes as to how.
But how do you distinguish the two?
Okay, so you read the document as a whole and then come to a conclusion based on what the judge himself says. What's the test that he says he will apply?
Fair enough.
What's the law that he says he will apply? What's the evidence that he used to reach a particular conclusion? So if you distill out of the ratio of this particular case, you would notice that the judge is saying that, look, strictly speaking, I don't have any problem with what you do to get your evidence, provided you use the rightful means. But my issue is how you use that evidence you have collected. Do you exempt people on the basis of inducement given to you subsequently, or you insist on publishing on the basis of their refusal or inability to pay you money so as to exclude them?
Do you foresee an appeal? Do you see? Two questions.
This is back in court tomorrow and another massive case.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which one is that?
To determine whether he testifies in the Osinyatechi case in camera or not.
Oh, Lord.
That's a really big case because, and that, from what I've been told, that also changes a lot of things. Because I think you are the lawyer. You have the right to something.
Wow.
Face your
so there's another case. So, but again, to the question, tomorrow. Do you see him appealing this one?
I think
he should have stated.
I think yes. To be fair,
where's the statement? Find it for
me. I think on the basis of the heavy judicial pronouncements that have been made here,
you don't see a way back.
No. I think that he should ordinarily, without urging him to. If I was affected by a judgment I would appeal it on the basis that, look, this is a judicial pronouncement. Tomorrow, anybody can stand on the basis of the outcome in this case and call us and ask names based on the specific findings made.
Which is what I was trying to say, that it seemed as if again, I'm not a lawyer, it seemed to me as if the judge really he really dealt with Anas. That's in common man's English.
Yeah, man.
And for me, was that necessary in the context of the case before him?
He can determine that.
Because do you get my point? So, and again, the context of all that's happened to the judiciary, all that's happened with sports administration, and all of that. It's for me, it leaves a certain sense that and again, I'm not defending everything Anas does, but there's a sense in which you can sort of conclude on a case without necessarily trying to nail. Okay, but look, I don't know. What do I know? So we'll see. So you feel like if he has the opportunity to, he could appeal.
Yeah, that's right. Because if you don't set this judgment aside, like as I said, or you don't appeal it as to, get an outcome you believe will be favorable to you and appeal all the way to the Supreme Court ultimately. What it does is it's part of the decisions of our country by way of the judiciary. People can rely on it and say things about you and how you do your work. Because the moment they say, they'll say, oh, you look at the judgment of this thing. The judge found that A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
But also, it is important for us to educate the public that there was a central plank of evidence that was relied on heavily by the judge.
Yeah.
The question we should ask is, was Anas indeed the person on that tape or that video? Did he actually confess to receiving $100,000 US dollars? Was that actually something that happened in the office of a state prosecutor? Now, if this thing happened in 2008, how come the state was not actually interested in prosecuting it? Until now, because it would seem that until the Honorable Kennedy Ejapong went public with the video recording or the audio recording, I don't know, all of us didn't know about it.
Yeah.
You understand? So it raises issues that travel far beyond what exactly was decided in the case. Because if indeed there was bribery, those would be against the laws of the country and would have to be prosecuted. The question is, were they prosecuted? If indeed there was an alleged stealing of $1.9 million, then the state investigated it. How
so
come
there's a
it was
question
not...
here for you. Was there subsequential orders? Usually these things they say. Yeah, but that's the point, right? If the evidence he relied on was so heavily weighed against Anas, even me not being a lawyer, if you look at those things that he's alleged to have done, you can then recommend that the CID guy, the prosecutor in the case, if he's still alive, and Anas himself, just that if that evidence is so conk,
so
you can then say, unless you're telling me that in a civil case, that's not necessary.
No, you see, so the issue is, what was the case brought before him? What were the issues for determination?
So you can't go beyond
So you
that.
decide those.
Okay.
There are exceptional cases where, for instance, you may refer a conduct of a lawyer or maybe a particular party before the court for further action. But perhaps in his own view, it was not necessary. But you see, it is up to the Attorney General now and the people interested to now look into this issue as to settle it beyond all doubt. Whether or not there was bribery, whether that happened in the office of a state attorney, whether the state attorney involved is alive or still, somewhere, blah, 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 and whether the matter is in the interest of the public.
So watch this
to be prosecuted.
So watch this space. Thank you, Sky. I think this has been very good. The full judgment is on citynewsroom.com. If you go to the homepage, it's the second story. So the full thing is there. Try and read it. It's good reading. It's good education. And I suspect this is not the last we've heard of this. Now, a couple of quick things. I have an interview coming up shortly with past students of Suesco. Then I will be going to Kweku Dakwankra as we continue with our on-air series. Today we're talking about Osu Castle. But join our fun-packed and adventure packages to Dubai this Easter from the 9th to the 17th of April for only $1,350 USD. And our Europe tour package to Germany, Belgium, and Netherlands, France, Switzerland between the 7th and the 18th of August for only €3,500. Now, this includes visa assistance, hotel accommodation, tours, tickets, airport transfers, and more. In addition, you get a Copan travel card for free, the first travel loyalty card in Ghana, which offers you a discount at partner hotels, restaurants, general merchandise, fashion and beauty outlets, and insurance partners. Now, call Copan on 055-6965-924 That's 055696594. Copan Hospitality Tourism at its best. Take the next step to own your future by taking the IELTS with the British Council, the International English Language Testing System, and English Proficiency Test used to measure if someone can speak, read, or write English before they study, live, or work in another country. Accepted by immigration authorities in UK, US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and we will help you at the British Council to get on that ladder. Standard Water has over 25 years experience in the providing quality water to quench your thirst. This refreshing water brand is available in all 11 regions of Ghana, and we're still expanding to cover the rest of the country. We come in the sachet, bottled, dispenser mounted jar water, and we also do customized water for parties. Standard Water is available for purchase from supermarkets, retail shops, and sales delivery trucks. For bulk purchase, call 0202 055 703. That's 0202 055 703. Give your eyes the best attention and care they deserve this year. Don't play with your eyes. Visit Roberts & Sons at Adenta. We also had Wager at Dabraka, Osu Dankwa Circle, Tema, East Legon, Kumasi, and our new ultramodern Koforidua branch for comprehensive eye care, 100% original, unbeatable products for children and adults. Also visit us for your state-of-the-art optical coherence tomography testing center or retina damage detection scan. Call 0501 519 111. That's 0501 519 111, or visit our online robertsandsonsoptical.com. Roberts & Sons, seeing is believing.
Now you're looking for a prime property to buy or invest for immediate returns. With $50,000, you can own one of the 3-bedroom apartments in Sakumono Estates for immediate haircut-free returns and benefits. We also sell and install original Japan Fuji elevators and escalators in your high-rise buildings and malls. You can speak to This Way Property Investment on 0200 535 515 or visit them at Sakumono near the Celebrity Golf Course. This Way Property Investment, your haircut-free investment. Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana is informing all its numerous customers that the company will embark on a nationwide revenue mobilization exercise starting on March 20 to April 20 this year. Now, they will focus on all categories of customers in arrears, including state-owned enterprises, and they'll be monitored by special teams who apprehend and prosecute customers who attempt to interfere with the exercise and or undertake illegal self-reconnection after disconnection. Now, it means that ECG is saying all their top officials will be out on the field, but their offices will have customer service people there to help you. So please sort yourself out and make sure you are not on the wrong side of the law. Help ECG to serve you better. Now, stay for 2 nights and get the 3rd night for free in a standard room at Maha Beach Resorts, going for $454 or 4,995 cedis for 2 persons. The package includes dinner on arrival, breakfast, lunch, and dinner on 2nd day, and breakfast on last day before departure. Free airport pickup service from Friday to Sunday. T's and C's apply, and complimentary early check-in and late check-out till 1 p.m. subject to availability and other amazing offers. Offer is bookable now till April 10 and subject to availability. Call 0303 977 773 or 0501 570 684 or 0540124114 for more details and reservation. And you can email sm@maharesort.com or reservations@maharesort.com.
We'll be right back with more. Stay with us on the Citi Breakfast Show.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is Citi 97.3.
Keys. What could be simpler than a key? Who doesn't have a key? A car key, an office key, a drawer key. But there's one key that rules them all. The house key. The key to a place we call home. The key to the home where everything comes together. The key to a home that is our own. A home where we make life happen with our families and loved ones. Adoha has been working hard for over 30 years to make home ownership within reach for many. Say yes to property with Adoha. Your dream home is one call away. Your dream home is a few clicks away. Visit our Accra project, The Place,
by calling 030-2789-757. Hey, nowadays, germs are in the air. Aren't you concerned?
Concerned about what?
About the children, of course. In times like this, they sneeze, cough, and fall ill just like that.
This is why we need to give our children and ourselves a fighting chance with the maximum protection of Dettol soap. Dettol soap not only refreshes you, but it can be used for bathing and washing hands. So keep calm, get Dettol soap.
Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Dettol is endorsed by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association.
This advert is FDA approved.
Bet365 is now officially available in Ghana. My G, if you love sports, there's no better way to get a piece of the action. Build your own personalized bet with Bet Builder and select from popular markets on the biggest sports. You fit make multiple selections within a single match. For example, in football, you can choose first goal scorer and both teams to score to create your bet. Charlie, visit the official site at bet365.com.gh. Over 18s only. Terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
Fly Emirates first and business class and look forward to a journey that's as incredible as your destination. Start your holiday with delicious fine dining, impeccable service, and comfort that's out of this world. Sip drinks in our A380 onboard lounge on flights from Dubai and beyond. Watch a movie and drift into a restful sleep in flatbed seats. Treat yourself to Emirates first and business class. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Enjoy the best of convenience and security on AT Money. Carry out all your mobile money related transactions on the go. Send or receive cash, pay bills, move cash in and out of your bank account from anywhere at any time. Airtel Tigo Money, your most secured and trusted mobile money service.
At the British Council, we know that our experiences in life are what shape us. The things we see, the places we go, the people we meet, all make an impact on the future we create. Change is driven by people with dreams bigger than themselves. The chance to study abroad is the chance to make an impact, not just on your own life, but on the lives of the people you left back home. When you experience the world beyond borders, you can discover what's possible for the future you envision. When you set off to further your education abroad, you can return empowered and ready to put your plan for change in motion. It starts with an IELTS test. Take IELTS with British Council and get Road to IELTS Premium worth $80 for free. Our most popular online IELTS preparation course equips test takers with hundreds of interactive activities, 40 practice tests, and 13 advice and tutorial videos. Visit the British Council website today and get the IELTS score you need with Road to IELTS and the British Council.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Anyway, so it's 19 minutes past 9. I have in studio 2 PSCA. They call themselves PSCA, and they'll explain why. The Swedro Senior Secondary School, or now they call them senior high schools, by Swesco, is 64 years old, and I have 2 old students in studio. I have Professor Elijah Pencil. He's from Swesco 83. Prof, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And I have Mrs. Lorenda Sandra Atasizamo. That's a lot of names.
Mm-hmm. Caesar maiden name, more married name.
Ata twin. Mm-hmm. Oh God, Lorenda Sandra, double English name. Mm-hmm. 1963 O level. 60 years ago, you were in Form 5. This is 6 years into Ghana's life. Wow. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. So you are here because we have a speech day on Saturday and we're going to talk about it. Just tell me a bit about yourself, Prof. You are 83 Swesco and you are a professor of what?
So I'm a professor of pediatrics, pharmacology, public health, and management at Yale University.
Pediatrics, pharmacology, public health,
and management.
Why?
I think if you went to a school that I went, SWES school, you're actually prepared for life, and you can do anything and everything.
Wow.
I think, as you know from the school's motto, Semper Cum Optimus, always with the best.
Wow.
So when you get in an environment, you fight hard and you try to be the best.
So did you go straight to the US after SWES school Form 5, or did you do?
I actually
Ghana
was
University?
very privileged to not only go to Form 5 at SWES school, but one of the few who went to upper.
One to upper?
One to upper. And
Wow.
actually was the Silver Jubilee school prefect.
Amazing. So 85?
85. And so from there, I went to University of Ghana Medical School.
All right. And then
Worked in the Volta region for about 5 years before I went to the US.
Wow. Ended up at Yale Pediatrics, Pharmacology, Public Health, and Management. Hey! Okay, so you are the guest of honor for Saturday. Let's come to Mrs. Lorenda. You did O-level 1963. Wow, I can't even imagine how Ghana was. How many were you in the school at the time?
We're like 119. of us,
119.
Male and female.
The whole school.
Whole school. Proper.
I'm sure now one class has more than that. The whole school 119.
Yeah.
Good for you. So how did you end up at SWES school, by the way?
We took the common entrance examination and I passed to go to Motown.
Okay.
But then the Cocoa Board was offering scholarship.
Okay.
For people with large families, and so there's a criteria we should apply. I don't know how my daddy, my late, blessed memory, Israel said that the Caesar did it, but he got the scholarship for me to go to SWES school, and at that time a lot of the older ones believed in their ideology of Kwame Nkrumah, that he meant well for the country. So he said, well, leave the Achmota is there already. Some of your sisters and brother are there, so you attend SWES.
So SWES school was a new school then?
It was it's the first trust school.
Founded in which year?
1959.
So at this
they
time...
started the building. When they finished, Kojobotu cut the school.
So the school was 4 years old?
Yeah.
At the time you went? Yeah. And was it for you always a co-educational? Because you're talking about Chemota and SWES school. You always wanted to go to a co-educational institution?
Not me, myself at that time, not myself, but I think my father really being in education and my mother too in education, they thought, well, the best thing is be in the real world from the start.
All right.
Because so I believe in really boy and girl school.
So that's the real world.
Gender equality, yes. Then you become bold like me at 80, I woke up 4 a.m. and I'm here.
You are 80?
Yeah, I turned 80 last year, September.
You don't look it.
29.9.
Amazing. So this is 60 years ago from 5. What did you study, by the way?
I studied arts.
All right.
My favorite subjects are history and literature.
Wow.
And I took Ghana to West Africa Examination Council that year. I taught the whole of West Africa.
In Ghana?
In Ghana language. But I'm a Dangbe. I'm from Adan.
Wow. Both parents are there?
My mother is half Ghana, half Adan, quarter Ghana, quarter Adan, and half French. That's why I got this color.
Oh, Lord. Amazing. You've come a long way.
But she speaks Adan.
I see. Prof, how did you go to SWES school?
I think it was just meant to be, because when I did a common entrance, I actually didn't know that school.
All right.
All I knew was a Cape Coast school.
Yes.
So I knew I was going to Mfanspim. My family, most of them
went there.
My father was an old boy. And unfortunately, at that year, I think I got 1 point less than what Mfanspim was taken. And my father was very...
That was called the common entrance.
Common entrance. And my father was very sick at that time, so he couldn't
pull the strings for you.
The strings or legacy to get me there.
All right.
So I think one of my uncles, who then was working in Swedro Sports Council, He said, "Oh, but you can
Go
go here."
to the school.
So they just.
You had never heard of the
sent me
school?
there. No, that was the first time.
Was Swedru a big town in those days? Because when I drive past Swedru now, I get the sense that in the past, this used to be some important place.
It was a big town as such, but it's a big trade
Trade
town for
Trade
the
route.
central
Region.
Because I can see a lot of. I remember when we ran to town to do our few provisions, we are not allowed to go certain days, but you follow the overgrown ones who know their local, to flex your wings and be with the ladies and the gents, and they had a lot of shops, warehouses. They have good doctors. Remember one doctor, Dove, who take care of our dentist,
of
the school staff and all that. So I think it's been a famous town like my hometown, Adan.
So it's like a trade hub between Eastern, Central, Greater Accra, sort of middle place where people. I see. Yeah. So in '85 as well, it was like that. In the '80s, it was.
Yeah, it was still like that. So booming. I think, like my sister said, it was more of a nodal town. People come.
So it wasn't that far from Accra, nor from Cape Coast, nor from So it wasn't as if they sent you to some Siberia.
At the time, probably looked like going to Siberia, but I think that you need to go to Siberia to be toughened up sometimes.
So you studied science?
Yes.
I see. Who are some of your contemporaries in the school?
I think Kenneth Bedu, Dr. Kenneth Bedu, who is an ENT doctor at Kolebu.
Okay.
And then Joe Brewu, who is also a doctor in the US.
Okay.
And then Kweku Eya, a lawyer.
Okay.
A few others.
I see. So you are all into the medicine and the... What about you? Any of your mates worthy of note?
Oh, my mates. The one who topped it all, blessed memories, we just buried her last year, is Edna Swaniga. It's Edna Matthew. She had a school in Botswana.
Okay.
Sad memories.
Yeah, the Swaniga
family. I
family.
salute you, madam, even in your resting place.
Okay.
So we had Edna Swanika.
Is it related to the Fred Swanikas and the ones who run schools in South Africa?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we had Kate Ado.
Kate Ado Adeku?
Adeku.
Okay.
The married name is Deku. She studies forever. I'm not surprised she's a professor. The bed is next to mine and Kate is always studying. I wake up to go to the loo.
And she's still studying?
I've got a touchlight.
She's still reading. She was in science?
She's in science.
You're in the same dorm?
The same dorm with her.
Wow.
And we had Regina Morrison, Gladys Darty, Julius Osborne.
Wow.
Iriakwa.
Iriakwa, is it the former minister? Oh, there was a minister in Ronnie's
No, not Iriakwa. But she was the one who went into politics a little bit.
Okay, so not Iriakwa. Yeah. Wow.
So we were many and we were happy.
Can imagine. So going back on Saturday, let's start with the prof. You're the guest of honor. Have you been back to Swesco since you left?
Yes, I've been there a few times, yeah.
I see. So what kind of feeling do you have going back?
A bit of nostalgic and also going, I think for me it's an honor to go back to where it all started.
Yeah.
Really bring it 360 degrees to see. And also opportunity to encourage those who are there that they are at the right place.
Wow. Amazing. You are the guest of honor. Amazing. Did you ever dream of this when you were hustling Form 5 boy that one day you come back as a almost emeritus professor to come and inspire the thousands of students in the dining hall, not sure what they're going to become, and to tell them that, guys, hey, it's going to be fine, you know?
It probably would be a cliche to say that I thought of that. I mean, at that stage in life, you probably don't think so far off. But looking back, I think that the school prepares you for that. I mean, it's a school that produces leaders.
Yeah.
And as our motto say, semper cum optum always with the best. So as soon as you enter the four walls of the school, you know something is going to happen to you. And I'm just one of the testaments of
Did you know a certain Samuel Atamensa when you were there?
Samuel Atamensa. Oh, Sammy. I'd say,
is it my boss you are calling Sammy?
Yes. So some men. So that, like I said, we were in the same dormitory.
Same dormitory. What house?
Yeah, house 1 at the time in Chroma House.
Okay.
Yeah, when he came to Form 1, I was in Form 3. Yeah.
Do you remember what kind of person he was?
Very stubborn guy. Wow. Very stubborn. And he would tell you. And he was actually very good friends with a cousin of mine.
This is gold. Yeah. Please keep talking.
Yeah. He was a very good friend of mine, a cousin of mine.
Oh, okay.
Akins, who has passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sammy gave us a lot of trouble. He was a nice guy.
House 1. So in the same house, house 1. And you were in house?
House 3.
House 3. How many houses there?
Oh.
At the time?
At the time, we have 3 houses for boys and then 1.5
for girls. But I think now it's more.
Yeah, now.
So this speech day is on the theme Our Heritage, Self-Defense and Hope for the Future. I understand the chairman is Dr. Emmanuel Danso from the 73-year group. Why does everything have to end with 3? What's going on with the 3s?
I think that's the tradition. If the year groups, so it's because it's 2023. Those who went to the school and finished ending 3 get to help out with that.
Amazing. So your appeal to all Swesco, you'll be there, right? So just your final appeal to Swesconians listening. Is that the word, Swesconians?
Swesconians.
Yeah. They should come on board on Saturday. What time is it? What's happening? Where can they?
What is happening now is the whole thing started on the 15th. Cleanliness, I don't know if it's not in Bible, but we quote it, cleanliness is next to godliness. So they started cleaning on 15th, and then the 16th, they had a quiz, science quiz, and then so the whole campus is bubbling now.
All right. So some of the old students are already back on campus. Okay.
Some people spend the whole week.
Oh, wow.
Finish with a church service on Saturday.
So they've been there already? And it culminates on Saturday?
Oh,
okay.
Our platform is, and then the Derba is proper is on the 18th.
Which is this Saturday. So that's the speech day and the Derba. I see.
Speech and prize giving day. So it's a good thing to go back to your alma mater and to encourage them. And when you see the young ones, what they are doing now, there's a spirit, Swesconian spirit, which are entered into them. They want to excel. And that is going on. I've been to the 40th anniversary, 50th, 55th, and when we were 60 years old, Sammy was the guest speaker. Yeah. And then we're going to the 64th anniversary, which if I might speak on behalf of everybody, on behalf of the all alumni, both home and abroad, and in memory of those who have taken this journey to an end, the good staff we had at that time. We wish everyone happy anniversary, and they should know they are at the right place, and they must not give up on their country, Ghana.
All right.
Because it is well and it's going to be well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mrs. Lorinda Sandra Atasizamo, 63-year group, and Professor Elijah Pencil, known as Kwesi P. Yeah. So all Swesco students, please, old and new, you know where to be. 9 a.m. prompt at the Esther Hansen ceremonial grounds. Samens will be there, leading the charge. Wonderful. We'll be right back. Stay with us. right, so a couple of quick announcements before we get into the on-air series for the day.
Vodafone Business presents Too Much Business, the #1 mobile plan for businesses in Ghana today. Now, what it gives you is a great plan. You have flexibility to choose voice, data, and SMS packages that suit your business's size and ambitions. You can send START to 0507 779 000 or send an email to vodafonebusiness.gh@vodafone.com to sign up now. Vodafone, further together. Now, according to the World Bank, Ghana is faced with 12% youth unemployment and more than 50% underemployment. In addition, observers generally agree that Ghana's youth are ill-prepared for the world of work, and only 38 out of 100 school children transition to the next level of the academic calendar. Will you sit unconcerned or contribute to solve the problem? Your donation of only 1 cedi a day will support Lead Africa International to train undeserved school children for free. Send your donations to 0549 274 728 or 0549 274 728 or on Chango at Lead Africa International. Together, we can change the future of Ghana one student at a time. Now, with the British Council's road to IELTS, you get all the material you need to get your required IELTS score. The online course is valued at $80, and it includes more than 300 interactive activities, 13 advice and tutorial videos, and 40 practice tests. Register today.
When we come back, we'll talk about the Osu Castle. Apioko will be speaking to Kekuda Akwankra. Stay with us.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Welcome to the Heritage Month On Air series. My name is Apioko. Now, in the month of Heritage, we're having several conversations about our history, about the things that define us as Ghanaians, and the things that have created the footprints and the roadmap to us become our culture. We're celebrating that. We're making it Ghana. And we're also having very important conversations around these things, because it's very important for us to know where we are coming from, where we are now, so that we know where we are going. This show is sponsored by the National Lottery Authority, the NLA. Now, my guest here today is none other than Kweku Daku Ankra. He's a historian, and he's no stranger to us here at Citi FM and Citi TV. In fact, some people might say he works here. Kweku, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And today we're talking about the Osu Castle. Some of the edifices that have become very prominent in our history along the way of our heritage up until now have been our forts and our castles. And the Osu Castle in particular, Kweku, you tell us, has occupied several spaces within our history and has meant many things to us and our ancestors over time. So let's talk about the Osu Castle, the Christianborg Castle, which was built by the Danes. When was it built? And initially, when they put it up, what was the purpose that it was to serve?
Thank you very much. So the purposes of forts and castles, which were about 80 across the shores of Gold Coast or Ghana, were as a result of the country's abundant wealth, gold, diamond, manganese, and all other stuff, as well as agricultural products, which were sort of a good raw material that feed European industries. So this made Gold Coast very attractive to European powers. In addition, when there was emergence of transatlantic slave trade, the need to have human beings to go and work in the sugar plantations and cotton farms to also feed the European industries that were making sugar as well as textiles. So when you talk about slave trade, one of the things that fuels it was sugar. So they were sent to the sugar cane plantations as well as textiles, where they go and also work in the cotton farms. So this caused a high demand for human labor, and as a result, this led to increase in the human cargo. And so that's why we see all the European powers coming to Africa as well as the Gold Coast at the time to get a lot of human beings to go and work. So that is, as a result of this, there was the need to have a factory. So the European powers started building what is called lodges. So the lodges that will later become castle were initially as a factory where they will keep their goods. Like when they bring the guns, they bring the alcohols, they bring the sugar and all those stuff.
So
that is where they were storing it. That is why beginning we say European lodges. What it means, it was factories.
So let me just understand, the raw materials, a lot of them were being taken from here back to their home nations. They would process them, manufacture with labor, whatever they had to do, and then they would now come back. And the forts were initially storehouses or warehouses for these finished goods that they would use
that's
here.
The way it was. So they sell some even among their competitors in Europe and across the world. And then they bring some of the finished products back home here and they kept it there. And at the same time, what they also buy from the hinterland or from the Gold Coasters, they also store some of them there in that storehouses or the lodges and then wait for the ships to arrive. And then they also, so it was back and forth.
Okay, so before the advent of human cargo, what we now know became the slave trade, what were some of the things they were buying from the hinterlands, from the indigents of West Africa, Ghana, for the Gold Coast?
So for Ghana, gold was the major product. Okay. They were buying gold. They were also buying certain foodstuffs that were needed. They were also buying some wares, traditional artisans' wares that they were producing back in the day. So they were buying those sort of things. They were also bringing in glass beads and other stuff. So those were the major things
what we call the trade beads.
Yeah, the trade beads. That's where those things that they were buying. They buy some from Nigeria. The most precious was like the akori beads.
Okay.
They were the grass one, now called the Edo beads. They were bringing it from Nigeria here. And then there was a blue one, which used to be called the agri beads, which was one of the precious. And then from Ghana itself, we also produce bodom beads, the butter beads, and so on. And Yani is the right one.
Yes. In fact, I'm wearing some on my leg.
And so on. And then they also send it across. So these were the trade that was going on. And as a result of this trade, as I stated earlier, this led to the burden of their lodges, which will later become the forts. So the Danes became very competitive by 1850. Sorry, 1650s. They also emerged as a powerful traders on the West African coast. And they traded mostly in the coast of Gold Coast.
Okay.
So when they came in 1850, they came with a factor called Henry Calof. And Calof was a very a serious-minded person who had planned to build a lot of lodges to help his country to also become very successful, and if not even anything at all, to monopolize the trade. And he started very well. So by 1850, he had started the Cape Coast Castle. By 1852, he was already in Accra. He has bought the lodge at Osu. Moved on to by 1852-53, he's at Anamabo, Shama, Butre, and then Cape Apollonia, all over. So the Danes built a lot of lodges, which will later be taken over by the other European powers. But with regards to Osu, in 1852, Calof built that lodge.
Okay.
And so they were trading there. That gave them some ability to control the market, particularly within the Eastern Corridor. That is between long before Fort Presenstein will come.
Okay.
That was the castle or the fort that was controlling the trade all the way from Benin up to the corridors of Accra. So the Danes had upper hand when you talk about the Eastern Corridor of the Gold Coast.
Okay.
And then moving westward, you come across Hodgenston, which was at Nunga back in the day. Then you move further to Accra itself. You have the Fort Crèvecoeur, which has become the Osha, which was there, and the Dutch too were competing effectively there. So when Osu Lodge was built, by 1850, it was built in 1652. By 1655, going to that 1655, then the Dutch came in, and then they took over in a sort of contestation for power, and then they took it over from the Danes. when they took it over from the Danes, it didn't take long. And then the Danes also came back and took over their fort back. And when they took their fort back, they were controlling it for some time, controlling the trade and then trying to capture the major trade around the area. However, as the time was going on, they also lost it again within another contestation. When they lost it again to the Dutch again, they were to get their fort back within a space of 1 year. That is between 1660 and 1661. So by 61, when they took it over, the Dutch guy who was in their employ called Jos Kramer.
Jos Kramer.
Yes, was invited to do refitting of the space. So when they refit the lodge, then it became a fort.
Okay.
It became a fort. So when it became a fort, then they decided to name it after their king, which is Christians the Fifth. So it became Fort Christiansberg. But Ghanaians have followed the Christiansberg, but it's Christiansberg. So that is the Christians fortification, which was built in honor of Christians the Fourth.
So it means that between 1652 and 1662. So 1652 is when the lodge was built, and 1662 was when it was retrofitted to become a fort. The Danes had actually lost control of it about 3 times.
Yes, 2 times.
2 times. No, that's interesting. So it seems to me that the Osu Castle then was a very, very prime example. And in fact, it's very critical in the history of how the Europeans were scrambling for Africa.
Yeah.
Even before we got to the slave trade,
Yeah.
the Osu Castle, for me, from what you're saying, is significant in showcasing how important Africa was, how important Ghana, the Gold Coast at the time was, with trade and everything that was going on in the world, and how the Europeans were literally scrambling for Africa at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's why some people argue that the scramble itself started long before the Berlin Conference.
Yes.
So during that time, there was a series of wars between the European powers. That is how Portuguese lost the Elmina castle to the Dutch. And that is how the Dutch will lose their forts at Anamabu and Ija to the British. So it was within that contestation that that was how the coast of Gold Coast then was, because this area had abundant resources and all of them were here trying to get the best out of it so that they can compete among themselves in their home countries. And that is that competition is the interplay of it is what we saw in our West African coast.
West African coast. So quickly, let me also ask, you mentioned earlier that initially when a lot of these forts and castles were built as lodges, they were meant for trade. But as they began to become more significant in terms of what they meant for a European nation and their presence on the continent, would you say that our forts and castles are actually very big symbols of power? And so for that matter, it's not just about entering the territory. You must claim the castle. You must claim the fort.
Yeah, so as you see, over the years, the castle itself at Osu was remodeled. The Portuguese were the people who would later come and take it over. So as I continue to the narration, some of these answers, I will use it to, I will bring it within the question that you have answered.
Wonderful.
So after the 1662, as I talk about when they took over their place back, they continued to rule over it. And by getting to
the Danes.
That's the Danes.
Got it back.
Very good. They continued to rule over it. They became a power. And then by 1670s going, they had also started having financial problems. So they sold the fort, or they remortgaged it to the Portuguese. By 1670, they about 1683, they remortgaged it to the Portuguese. So the Portuguese came, they were the people who built the chapel. In the castle. That was one of the most prominent edifices you will see when you go to the Osu Christabel Castle. So when they refitted it for some time, they renamed the castle or the fort into Saint Soir Francis Xavier.
Saint Soir Francis Xavier. So that's where that name, because I've heard That name being associated with Osu Castle
Yes, so,
several times. But I didn't know that this was the point.
Yes, so that is how it became, we got that name. So over a time, the Danes gathered money and they came back and then they took back their castle from them.
But who?
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Enjoy the best of convenience and security on AT Money. Carry out all your mobile money related transactions on the go. Send or receive cash, pay bills, move cash in and out of your bank account from anywhere at any time. Airtel Tigo Money, your most secured and trusted mobile money service.
1xBet. Easy betting, easy winnings. 1xBet, the most reliable service to make deposits easily with high odds and numerous bonuses on the spot. Register now at 1xbet.com.gh. Use promo code BESTODDSGH to get 300% bonus up to 3,445 Ghana cedis on your first deposit. Easy to use, easy to have a chance to win. 1xBet, reliable bookmaker. Gambling can be addictive. Bet responsibly. Not for person under 18 years. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission.
At the British Council, we know that our experiences in life are what shape us. The things we see, the places we go, the people we meet all make an impact on the future we create. Change is driven by people with dreams bigger than themselves. The chance to study abroad is the chance to make an impact, not just on your own life, but on the lives of the people you left back home. When you experience the world beyond borders, you can discover what's possible for the future you envision. When you set off to further your education abroad, you can return empowered and ready to put your plan for change in motion. Great experiences await when you study in diverse countries like the UK. You can make an impact on your entire community because you took the chance to own your future. It starts with an IELTS test from the British Council. Visit our website today and discover a world of opportunity.
Are you a consistent Tier 3 pension contributor? If yes, Aiko. Citi's Pay is rewarding you for the good habits. Access a loan within 24 hours at just 2.5% monthly. Visit our website www.citispay.com.gh and choose what is right for you. Call us on 0595 738121. Citi's Pay. We leave no one behind.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is Citi 97.3.
Who was this Francis Xavier? Who was this person?
Oh, it's a Portuguese. They are talking about some the Pope at the time. Okay. You know, they were Catholics. So they were giving these names of the patron saints and then the popes of the time for the works that they do. So Xavier was the Pope at the time. So they were able, when they were in the during the mortgaging time, they also used the place for a lot of trade until the Danes had money. And then they came back and took their place. And then they ruled them for a long time until 1693, when something important happened at the Osu Fort. And this was when Asemani, a Kwapim trader and a warrior who had been a worker at the fort itself, used subterfuge with about 80 armed men pretending to be cooks, entered into the fort and then overpowered the soldiers that were there, and then even a fierce fight ensued, and the governor of the fort, called Jensen, had to flee to Fort Covacay to seek refuge, while some of the factors and traders who were in the Osu castle were taken to Akwamu. In this fight, when Akwamu overpowered Asemani overpowered them, he took 1,400 marks of gold as his possession. Then donned the Danish dress, then removed the Danish flag and put Akwamu flag on the fort castle, and then invited both the Dutch and then British traders to come and trade with him. Then he gave the keys of the castle to his king at Akomu. And that is why the Akomu people still have the keys to the Kestavon Castle back in the day. So, and he ruled from the 1693 to up to 1694.
So let me ask, do we know what Asamone's, what influenced this raid? What was it that pushed him? Because clearly he had worked there, so he had studied the place. He had seen the ins and outs, how things operate. What pushed him to go and
So Asamani were that group of Akomus who were trading on the coast, because the Akomus by 1670 had conquered Accra. And Accra was under the power of Akwamu. So we will say Accra then was a vassal state of Akwamu. So with their military capabilities, that is when Akwamu was at the height of their power. And he traded there, had seen certain loopholes in the fort. And he realized that he is capable of overtaking and then trade directly with Europeans to make money. So his intention was not the idea of nationalistic idea of trying to overtake it and then rule. It was more personal. Yes, to make money. That is why, as historians, we struggle to position Asamani within the context of nationalism struggle. Because his idea was purely commercial and how to make much money as a trader himself, because he was a successful trader. And so when he succeeded and he made money, that is why he will renegotiate with the Danes within next year, which is from 1693 to 1694. He negotiated with them, and then they purchased it from him with 1,600 silver from him.
After he had taken his 1,400 marks of gold.
He
and he had traded within the 1 year.
Yes.
So they bought it back.
They bought it back from him. And then the Dutch continue to be there.
So, of course, if Asamone's intentions had been more nationalistic, then he most likely wouldn't have sold it back to
Yes, he wouldn't have
because
sold.
now it's okay, we are the ones ruling the space. We now own one of the most powerful edifices we are ruling. So, bye-bye Danes. But he saw another commercial viability, and then he took the opportunity.
Absolutely. So what you see from...
I wish I had met him.
what Asamani did at that time is we can study it from the idea that people think that people around the coast were timid.
Yeah.
Or the Africans were timid and then they could not contest European power. Asamani gives a clear example of power contestations by the Africans, that the Africans were not passive to the transatlantic trade, but they were people who contested heavily. In fact, they contested spaces and they contested trade arenas with the Europeans. And that is how we see the role of Asamani within that context, even if it's not about nationalism. It shows that the Africans were heavily involved. They were not timid. Nobody came
and of course, it's
just
fine.
Railroad them in.
The Africans are the indigents. I mean, these were the Gold Coast dwellers, were the indigents. So, of course, if there's an opportunity to make something out of what they were born into,
the
then
unique
why not?
aspect of it is that in other African states, we did not see these capture.
See that.
And so the boldness of the Gold Coasters also shows you that as far back as time, our people were people who were capable men, who were fearless, and they could dare and challenge the white man who came to contest or trade with them. So that is the kind of argument I want to make. So they were just not timid. As people will say, when an African man see a white man, then you have to bow down. They were not bowing down. They were able to challenge their rule. They were able to challenge their trade. They were able to compete with them. And in some instances, even take their trade buildings from them, as we see it in Asamani's capture of the Kestavon Castle. This is very important. Something that serves as a yardstick for people today who want to contest the power of the state. That they have something to stand on, that they need not to be timid, because the idea of contesting power, speaking truth to power, or overtaking power is something that is embedded in our culture, even from back in the day, from the traditional circle into the business arena.
97.3. Accra City News.